Warm sunlight filtered through the window, while a gentle breeze caused the curtains to flutter softly. In the comfortably warm, sunlit room, a young man sat alone on the bed, lost in thought. Suddenly, the young man's eyes snapped open with alertness, and he let out a soft sound. He sat up and stared out the window at the city before him, stunned and confused. "Am I inside the game from before?" the young man exclaimed, bewildered and shocked. 3 years ago, I owned a role-playing game called Legend of the Hero of Ahan. It centers on an academy where countless dangerous events take place. And these events occur without pause. In the end, even though that world faced an apocalypse, the story was still ongoing. But the young man quickly laughed it off, thinking, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter because the main character will solve everything." He thought, "I was just added for show. I only play an NPC in a beginner's quest where the main character saves all the villagers." The character he referred to was named Corin Locke. Corin had now left the room, wandering around admiringly and exclaiming, "Wow, the graphics are amazing. If things go according to the plot, everything will be resolved." Corin was in high spirits, humming tunes and saying, "Let's find the main character. Park Si-hoo will soon become famous and rich." As Corin walked, he wondered, where's the starting point? Then his eyes landed on a young man by the roadside, muttering something, "Sweet potatoes, no Sprite." Hearing Sprite surprised Corin, who thought, "There's no such thing in this game. This guy is—" The other young man suddenly stood up and declared loudly, "I have to live for myself, that's right." Corin suddenly approached and firmly grasped the young man's hand. Overjoyed to find someone like him, Corin excitedly said, "Hey, me too, what's going on?" It turned out Park Si-hoo was also a player who owned this role-playing game. At that moment, Si-hoo was bravely confronting a monster. However, the difference was that Park Si-hoo had the privilege of a role-playing player a stat window. Si-hoo was confused. "Stats? What am I supposed to do with this? There's one problem but I'll make up for that," Corin thought. Extremely happy, he put his arm around Park Si-hoo's shoulder and said, "Hey, you said you wanted to become a mage, right? Then you need to upgrade your wisdom stat. There will be a skill book in the next chapter that's very important. I've played through all the chapters and know every detail," Corin said with a radiant smile. "Just trust me, I'm an expert at Legend of the Hero of Ahan." "Having me as your strategist is a blessing for 3 generations, Corin thought arrogantly. Suddenly a ferocious dog lunged out from behind Corin. Both turned their heads in alarm, immediately on guard. Si-hoo quickly stepped in front of Corin, drew a weapon, and without hesitation, coldly eliminated the dog. Afterward, Si-hoo flashed a friendly smile, turned his head, and kindly asked, "Are you okay?" "I have all the information about this game, and Si-hoo has the stat window and player system," Corin imagined to himself. He pictured how well they would work together and thought, "Together we are the perfect pair." The two sat happily on the corpses of defeated monsters. "With Si-hoo by my side, I'm sure we can save many people, prevent the apocalypse, and then return to our own world." Si-hoo suddenly handed Corin a small potion. Corin smiled and replied, "Wow, where did you get this? It looks like a small recovery potion." Then Corin drank it all at once and looked around thoughtfully. "If there's one thing that disappoints me, it's that this place is filled only with guys." The appeal of this game lies in its fantasy elements, along with heroic tales and fantasy dating scenarios, Corin thought, as he imagined attractive women. Park Si-hoo had no connection with any female characters and only added them to the party when necessary. Eventually, it became an all-male group. Corin asked in frustration, "Why is our party just a bunch of dudes? I should have realized this sooner." When the Sword Emperor's granddaughter died on the way to the memorial service. When Mariottet, the final boss of the first act, disappeared. Mysterious deaths and disappearances events never part of the original game's plot were mysteries Corin tried to piece together. And most importantly, Park Si-hoo's way of thinking, his personality, his true nature. I should have been more suspicious of him. The two looked at each other and smiled. "What is this?" Corin was bewildered. Mariottet Donwarski is a heroine of this game, but neither Si-hoo nor I ever met her because she had disappeared. The hidden artifact, Mariottet Donwarski's magic staff, appeared along with an illusion of Mariottet herself. Then why is her magic staff here? Shocked and angry, Corin cursed, "Park Si-hoo, that bastard, he sneaks off somewhere every night, that's why I followed him here. But is there really a place like this underground?" It seemed like his storeroom. Korin looked around for a long time at a vast space filled with items preserved in glass cases. "Why is this here?" Korin exclaimed, upon spotting an item, the hidden artifact Odachi. This was another item that vanished when the heroine Alisa went missing. But that wasn't all. Jaeger's rare hammer, and these as well, Lark's rare spellbook. Items belonging to characters who disappeared during our time playing the game. And then Korin froze, staring at a shackled foot suspended in midair. It was the body of a woman submerged in water, her limbs bound and unconscious. That beautiful girl was Mariottet. "Damn, I've been found out!" Park Si-hoo's voice came from behind Korin. Si-hoo covered his face with his hand and asked coldly, "Why are you here?" Korin demanded angrily, "What is all this? You said you were chasing Mariottet and lost her trail." Si-hoo replied indifferently, "That she's a demon anyway." Si-hoo's voice was icy and emotionless. "You want to waste the blood of a high-level vampire?" Si-hoo smirked. "I'm just making good use of it." "And you've already had some," he added. These words made Korin freeze his eyes wide with disbelief. It turned out to be that time the potion. Korin was so shocked he clamped his hand over his mouth, trying to suppress the nausea rising in his throat. Seeing this reaction, Si-hoo's expression remained cold as he asked, "What's wrong?" "It took a lot of work to create this place. Capturing her and building this chamber took over a month." Korin gritted his teeth in anger, forcing out the words, Why would you do this?" Si-hoo, still expressionless, replied, "To complete the story more efficiently, of course. Your way of playing is just too exhausting." Si-hoo approached Korin, who had collapsed on the ground and couldn't stand, and said, "You keep trying to save people and end up losing. Why not just kill off Lark and Jaeger and be done with it? You're always protecting people we can't control even if we raise our affinity with them." Park Si-hoo's eyes were icy as he said flatly, "It's better to use them like this." He was lying from the start. This bastard isn't a newbie, Korin thought bitterly. Sitting on the ground and struggling to breathe, Korin tried to ask, How many times?" "No," Si-hoo's eyes were empty. "I'm not sure, This bastard Si-hoo spoke without emotion, as if everything he did was normal. "If I kill 3 more, it'll be 100,000. He's not human anymore," Korin thought furiously. Those words made him grit his teeth in rage. Korin sprang up, grabbed Si-hoo's collar, and shouted, "You monster!" Si-hoo barely reacted and said, "Snap out of it. They're just NPCs. You've killed a few yourself, haven't you?" Korin shouted back in protest, "The ones I killed were incurable monsters, beasts. They were trying to destroy the world." Clenching his jaw, Korin said, "What do you mean by an efficient method? You've let me down so much." Korin angrily slammed Si-hoo against the wall hard enough to crack it and demanded, "If you're so obsessed with efficiency, why did you take the Odachi? What does a mage need with a knight's artifact?" Si-hoo stammered, That. But before he could finish, Korin yelled again, "And what's wrong with using regular potions? You can easily make them through your character window. Why did you create this monstrous place?" Korin screamed in fury, but Si-hoo only smirked. "You really are." Si-hoo's eyes turned cold as he replied, "You need a serious talking to for that pathetic social balancing instinct of yours." Korin was stunned. "What?" But suddenly Si-hoo's arm shot out so quickly that Korin couldn't react in time. With just one hand, Si-hoo sent Korin flying effortlessly. Korin's head crashed into the glass panel behind him. Blood like syrup gushed from his head and mouth as he lost consciousness. Si-hoo spoke lazily, "You're driving me crazy." Si-hoo approached and said disdainfully, "After everything I've done for you, don't you dare speak to me like that." The more Si-hoo spoke, the more agitated he became. Now, it was his turn to lose control. Si-hoo grabbed Korin's collar and yelled, "All I ever think about is you. I should have been your reason for living. I am your world, and yet you don't know your place, always meddling in other people's business." Korin's expression turned cold. "I won't hold back anymore." On the contrary, Korin looked dazed and confused. What is this lunatic talking about? Korin flinched as he sensed something. He retreated several steps and screamed frantically, You're not that kind of character. We've been together for 199 chapters. Why the sudden genre change?" Si-hoo's eyes were fierce as he approached. "I've eliminated every obstacle in our path from the beginning until now, just for our future." Corin finally understood and screamed, "This bastard! The only reason the party was all guys." Sihu said in a low voice, "The others are just for show, don't worry about them. The only one I love is you," Sihu growled. As soon as he finished speaking, Corin lunged forward and punched Sihu square in the face. Corin fled in terror, leaving a pained Sihu behind, cursing, "This perverted bastard, he scared the hell out of me. I don't even have a girlfriend yet." He hurried away, unaware of anything unusual. Suddenly, a purple vine wrapped tightly around Corin's ankle. The vines crawled up and bound Corin's body before he could struggle or utter a final word. The more he struggled, the tighter the vines constricted. "No," Corin cried out in pain. "You can't escape me. I will bind you forever." Sihu approached and warned blandly. "You are mine," Sihu said with a perverted smile. Sihu looked at the terrified Corin and said, "In this fake world, you are the only real thing." Corin screamed defiantly, "You're scaring me to death, you bastard!" Unconcerned, Sihu smiled and formed a hand sign. "It'll all be over soon. Once it's over, we'll be together forever." A cruel, perverted glint appeared in Sihu's eyes. Is this Park Sihu's plan all along? Corin wondered as the final chapter unfolded. It was beginning. Corin now lay on the surface of the ocean waves. That guy always acted alone, so the final boss probably wasn't a problem for him. Once he finishes off the final boss, then, "Damn it!" Corin cursed dazedly. "What's going to happen to me?" The system announced, "Player has died, mission failed." Corin remained silent for a long time. Did that bastard lose, he wondered? It was still that light and that window frame. Corin's eyes suddenly flew open. He was still waking up in that room as if he had just escaped a nightmare. Corin sat bolt upright. He ran to the window frame. "I regretted it 3 years ago when I first came here." Corin examined his hands. Then he clenched them so tightly they trembled. Tears fell uncontrollably. "I have to kill that bastard Park Sihu. I have to kill that player," Corin angrily resolved in his heart. The Rodion River dam break event during a quest to subdue living monsters, the dam suddenly broke, sweeping away an entire village. Thousands of water monsters and thousands of innocent people drowned. Such a horrific scene, and yet that guy, Park Sihu. "Ha ha, this is great!" Sihu's cruel, perverted face appeared in Corin's memory. At that time, Corin didn't understand why that bastard was so gleeful. He remembered that day clearly. Looking back now, even though dozens died, the only thing Sihu cared about was the experience points he gained. 3 more and it'll be 100,000. The scene of Sihu saying those words flashed before Corin's eyes. "That damn demon, I can stop him right now!" Corin ran quickly through space. Right now, he's only level 5, just like me. All the elements that make a player stronger are at Mercaria Academy. After entering the academy, he became much stronger. Right now, he's not a monster yet, but I still don't know how fast he'll develop after entering the academy. Corin ran as fast as he could. The entrance ceremony will take place in 5 days. An image of a forest with strange mushrooms appeared. Just a second later, Corin had ripped one out of the ground with his bare hands. In other words, the only way to kill Park Sihu is right now, Corin resolved firmly. Mission Guide. The carriage on the way to Mercaria City has been intercepted by monsters in the forest. Protect everyone with the guards until it is repaired, the system announced. On a mystical foggy night, the only bright light was the moon shining in the sky. Somewhere in the forest, a couple had just dealt with a rabbit. The boyfriend sighed in relief. Phew, finally done. The girl beside him smiled and praised him. "You've got talent, kid." But the person the girl praised wasn't the boy next to her. It was a familiar face, Park Sihu. Sihu scratched his head embarrassedly and laughed. "Ha ha ha, thanks." From behind, the coachman holding a large lantern called out, "Sir Leon, Lady Laura, the carriage is fixed." Hearing this, Leon and Laura stretched and walked together. "Let's go," Laura said lazily. "Ugh, I want to sleep right now." Suddenly, a piercing scream rang out, making them both turn their heads in alarm. A strange object rushed toward them quickly. "Get out of the way!" Leon quickly pushed Laura aside and let the object charge at him. Leon's quick reflexes allowed him to dodge the attack. The object crashed headfirst into the ground. Leon drew his sword and yelled, "Laura!" Laura understood immediately and drew her sword defensively. "I know." They were on guard against these screams. It was a level 2 werewolf monster, a werewolf's. The wolf had a muscular body and terrifyingly sharp claws. It let out a long, piercing howl. From a distance, Corin heard it and frowned. "Damn it, has it already started?" he cursed. He ran at full speed, but still couldn't stop it. "If only I had time to prepare," Corin thought angrily. The wolf lunged quickly and slashed fiercely at Laura, who couldn't react in time. Blood splattered everywhere. "I could have saved them," Corin thought. Over there, Laura collapsed after the attack. Leon shouted in shock, "Laura!" But Leon quickly yelled to Sihu, "Get on the carriage quick, I'll buy you time." But Park Sihu acted like a hero. He pushed the driver up and urged, "Just go, I'll follow." The girl on the carriage called out worriedly, "Hey, kid, Sihu left only managing to yell, 'I can't leave Leon behind, run.'" A faint cry was heard. The wolf had now gripped Leon's neck tightly, leaving him unable to resist. Sihu faced the wolf, a flicker of fear in his eyes as he held his sword ready to confront it. Corin, standing nearby, observed quietly, thinking, "I need to confirm before I interfere. Is this Park Sihu really the hero who will save the world? Or is he just another player like me?" "You're really big," Sihu muttered. The fear in his eyes from moments ago had clearly turned into malice. The wolf, sensing the contempt, let out a loud roar. "Duck!" A woman holding a sword rushed forward, yelling loudly. The girl slashed her sword powerfully at the wolf, but it remained completely unharmed. The girl froze in shock. "It blocked it." She was pushed back, landing with difficulty. Sihu said coldly, "Step back, I'll handle this." The second daughter of the Aiden family, wielder of the Odachi, one of the 6 Sword Kings, the most influential party member, and a named character, Alisa Aiden, was the one who had just charged forward. "I'm so scared," Sihu said as he drew his sword from his belt. The girl's face was blank as she turned her head. Even in the tutorial there was a hidden feature, the death of Alisa Aiden. "I've been waiting for this moment." Without warning, Sihu, with a malicious glint in his eyes, stabbed his sword into Alisa's back. Corin, standing at a distance, also froze. Corin's eyes filled with resentment, his jaw clenched tightly. "So it's still you, Sihu? Huh, why?" Alisa, bewildered, used her other hand to cover the wound and asked Sihu. At that moment, Alisa began to feel extremely dizzy. The image of Sihu blurred. She could only hear him say, "Sorry, I was so scared my hand slipped." The wolf continued to howl ferociously. Alisa was too shocked to speak. At this point, Alisa had almost no strength left to resist the wolf's attack. If Alisa Aiden dies in the mission, Sihu would get the Odachi and then join Lunya Aiden's team, a legendary sword saint. Ah, she's poisoned, but not dead yet. Is it because she's an important NPC in the story? Sihu stood by emotionlessly watching Alisa struggle to block the monster's attacks with her sword. Alisa summoned all her strength to leap away from the wolf. "Calm down." Alisa forced herself to stand firm despite wanting to collapse. "Focus, focus." Alisa closed her eyes, reassuring herself. Alisa's eyes opened wide with determination. Alisa's ultimate skill, absolute severance slash. The monster charged again, howling once more. Sihu thought irritably, at this rate she can kill that monster on her own. But Sihu smirked again and raised his dagger. "How can I let that happen?" Without hesitation, Sihu immediately threw the dagger at Alisa. Alisa angrily parried the dagger with her sword. "You—" "So it really wasn't an accident," Alisa yelled in confirmation. But at that moment the wolf lunged forward, opening its terrifying maw full of fangs. Alisa swung her sword directly at it. With one strike, she stabbed it straight into the ferocious wolf. Blood splattered everywhere. The wolf died in battle, collapsing on top of Alisa, who was now exhausted and lying on the ground, panting heavily. Why, you," Alisa said wearily as she saw Sihu approach. "Here it is, I've got the Odachi." Sihu ignored her and picked up Alisa's sword, delighted with his spoils. Sihu caressed it and sneered, "This thing can only be used with a special skill, but I'll figure that out later." Sihu was about to leave when he suddenly stopped. "Oh, right, killing NPCs gives experience too, doesn't it?" Alisa had no strength left. She could only watch helplessly as Sihu approached. Her eyes welled up with tears ready to overflow at any moment. Under the moonlight, Sihu laughed cruelly, perversely, and despicably as he prepared to strike. But suddenly a strange bag of powder was thrown right at Sihu's head. Sihu covered his face with his hand and coughed as yellow powder spread everywhere. Sihu's eyes were dazed. "What the hell is this?" Sihu looked at his hand in confusion. Sihu roared in anger. Who is it? Which bastard did this? Show yourself! A swarm of strange small monsters suddenly appeared. Topanic mushrooms are a favorite food of forest monsters and were covered in a thick layer of powder. Damn it, Sihu realized and cursed. To the monsters, Park Sihu was nothing but a delicious piece of fresh meat covered in special sauce. The monsters charged. Sihu swung his sword wildly. Get lost, all of you! You damn bastards! Sihu roared. Meanwhile, Korin approached and pulled Alisa out from under the wolf. He thought, thank God she's still breathing. Korin observed the wolf carefully. He moved closer and pulled the dagger out of its mouth. Damn it! Sihu's voice rang out, making Korin freeze. Who the hell are you? Sihu raised his sword behind Korin and asked coldly. Korin remained calm. Killed 3 horned rats in a flash. The Odachi is amazing, isn't it? Sihu froze. You are… Korinloch, Sihu exclaimed. Korinloch. Sihu repeated, then asked cautiously, how did you get here? Korin wondered if this bastard had lost his memories from before as he held the dagger. Korin chuckled to himself. If so, all the better. Then he spoke up, hey, you'll hurt yourself holding the sword like that. Sihu froze. What? Korin seized the opportunity to charge. A handful of powder was thrown directly into Sihu's face. Sihu, unable to react in time, grew angry. You bastard! Sihu swung his sword with his eyes still closed, cursing, Die! Korin easily dodged the blow and thought, this guy is clumsy with a sword, but his swings are fast. Still, Park Sihu is physically superior to me. Korin ducked to avoid the blow, gritting his teeth and thinking, I have to risk it, there's no other way. Korin swung the sharp fang in his hand forcefully towards Sihu, causing him to dodge in panic. At this moment, Korin seemed to lose all reason. He attacked continuously, thinking, that's right. This fang dagger might look small, but a stab to the neck is fatal. Focus on this fang, Korin thought as Sihu continuously used his sword to block the attacks. Korin seemed to control Sihu's attention, with his thoughts making him unable to take his eyes off the fang in Korin's hand as he tried to dodge. Unexpectedly, Korin suddenly swung the dagger from his other hand without warning. Sihu's eyes widened, but his hands were busy blocking with the sword, so he could only watch helplessly. With a confident smile, Korin swung the dagger. The dagger plunged deep into Sihu's shoulder. Sihu let out a pained scream, his face turning pale. His eyes filled with fear, tears threatening to fall at any moment. Korin raised the fang in his other hand high. The fang swiftly descended toward Sihu. A stream of blood spurted out. However, that fang did not strike Sihu's body, but was firmly embedded in. Korin stared at Sihu, who supported himself with his hand as tears streamed down his face. But the outcome was already decided. Korin pressed down with force. The fang pierced Sihu's neck, and blood spurted everywhere. Thank you for everything in the past life. Now only the sound of incessant panting remained. I have to admit one thing. Thanks to you, I've gotten stronger. Even so, Korin pulled out the sharp fang. Because he had killed the seed of a monster, Korin stood up and looked at the corpse he had cleanly dealt with. Error, the system announced. The system displayed Sihu's and Korin's player cards along with notifications, player has died. Calculating abnormality in main storyline. Initiating backup world. Transforming Korinloch. Running test. Testing potential. Testing ideology. Testing compatibility. Testing player log. Transferring previous player's experience to hero Korinloch. Converting minimum reserve for storyline collapse and minimum stats. Initiating backup player program Korinloch, AAA class knight martial arts successor backup player. Korin observed the notification, panting from exhaustion while thinking, a backup player, does that mean I'll have a stat window now? Suddenly, a choking cough was heard. Korin startled and turned his head to look. Alisa was now covered in syrup-like blood on her clothes, struggling to breathe on the ground. Alisa Aiden only now did Korin notice her. He ran over worriedly, holding Alisa in his arms and kindly asking, Hey, are you okay? It hurts so much, Alisa replied with effort. I can't see anything. Korin sighed in relief. At least she still has the strength to talk. Korin continued pressing. You feel dizzy and can't smell anything, right? Your ears are ringing too. Alisa, eyes closed, replied, How do you know? Adding her slurred speech to the symptoms, Corin deduced it was poison from the tree frog Duke. He pondered that still being in the tutorial chapter, and without a stat window made creating this poison very difficult. If it had been concocted at a higher level, she would have died. Corin looked at the fang stuck in Alisa's hip and quickly unbuckled his belt to help her. It really is you. But since the werewolf's fang was still embedded in her, she remained in critical condition. I need to stop the bleeding and detoxify her quickly. Corin used the belt to turn Alisa over and wrapped it tightly around her arm. The sudden pain made Alisa cry out. Corin tried to calm her. It's okay. I'm an expert at stopping bleeding and detoxification. Corin's eyes darted around as he thought, if she bites her tongue, it's over. Let's see, what can I use? His eyes landed on Sihu's lifeless arm lying nearby. Corin stared at it hesitantly. Finally, Corin pulled Sihu's arm over and placed it in front of Alisa's mouth, saying, Bite. Corin was extremely pleased with his idea. He started taking off his shirt and said, It's going to hurt a lot, so just bite as hard as you can. I don't know why I returned to 3 years ago, but I came back and killed a player, Corin thought, as he held the fang from Alisa's hip. Corin pulled with all his strength. In the desolate forest, a pained, desperate scream echoed continuously. The people who died in my past life are still alive. I've saved one person. That's enough. By now, Alisa had been successfully given first aid and was lying unconscious on the ground. A while later, Corin fashioned a simple pot and boiled it over a burning fire. Corin watched Alisa lying behind him while keeping an eye on the pot of food, comforting her. Hang in there. I'm preparing the antidote. Don't worry. Humans don't die that easily, Corin said positively. Alisa, with her eyes closed, mumbled, Benefactor. Alisa struggled to whisper, Please tell me your name. Corin placed a wet cloth on Alisa's forehead and replied blandly, You don't need to know. Alisa was bewildered. What? Corin reminded her, Don't think too much and get some rest. I'll wake you up when the medicine is ready. From now on, I have to act in the shadows. The fewer people who know about me, the better. Corin used a small stick to draw a circle on the ground. Now let's review the situation. The plot of Legend of the Hero of Ahan, as its name suggests, is a story about a hero solving incidents within the academy. The player becomes a hero and saves the world. The hero will defeat countless monsters and the final boss. Even a rotten person like Park Sihu had to follow the plot. Because if the final boss isn't defeated, the world will be destroyed. But that guy is dead now. So who will take on that fate, Corin wondered. The system displayed AAA Class Night Martial Arts Successor Backup Player. Corin's eyes showed clear disgust as he thought, Who else but me, but these bastards, if they want me to do it, they should at least do it properly. Suddenly a series of notifications appeared. Window system access denied. Window system access denied. Window system access denied. Window system access denied. Corin sat still, pondering. I became a backup player, but can't use the support features for players. I was so looking forward to it, and this is what I... By the flickering fire, only the large young man was left, muttering to himself, It's really hard to do anything in the future, huh? Just my memories of my past life aren't enough. I'll have to use elements outside the system to help complete this. After 3 years of training, I'm no longer just a successor or a backup. Corin used his fingertip to draw on the ground. A symbol and a magic circle were summoned. That power created a wind that made the fire burn even brighter. Everything was swept up in it. Corin watched with satisfaction. Corin smiled. Just as I predicted. It's a success. I will definitely survive. The magic I learned in my past life is runes, the ancient language. Ancient symbols that hold power within duty, restraint, oath. Known as the commanding triad of ancient runes. This is one of the powerful laws that govern this world. The source of human strength and the cause of destruction. I will carve them all onto my body. As soon as he thought it, Corin raised his finger and bit down hard. His finger bled. Corin used that bleeding finger to draw a line on his arm. Among them, the first word is. The symbols began to appear following the path of his finger, but it seemed to cause pain as Corin winced and let out a cry. Duty. This command increases the caster's power when they take an oath. You can make easy oaths like not eating chicken, but because they are so easy, you get almost no extra stats from it. Anyway, even if it's easy, I need to swear an oath on something I can easily follow through with. Corin rested his arm on his leg, tensing his body in pain. He told himself, I will not turn a blind eye and be greedy for a good person's treasure. The system displayed duty. I will not turn a blind eye and be greedy for a good person's treasure. Your stats will increase upon completing the mission. Failure to comply will result in a 10-stat penalty. The second one, restraint. Corin bit his finger again. He smeared it on his other arm. A vein on his neck popped out from the pain. System restraint. I cannot perceive soul. In this world, all things have their own psychic abilities. Because spiritual beings can only interact through mutual connection, they cannot use their power to affect things that have no sensitivity to them. If you do not comply, you will take 600% damage from your opponent. Activating restraint. Damage from spirits 0%. Physical damage plus 150%. And the benefit of a spiritual body when following this rule with me, the spell becomes a shield protecting me from all other spiritual bodies. And now the last one. The oath. This rule uses the weight of the oath as a backup. The ancient runes covered his body and arms, but it carries great risks and great rewards, which is why both Park Sihu and Corin closed his eyes and used it in our past lives. Corin remembered Sihu, but even Park Sihu, who could use everything in the system, failed at the final boss. If so, I need to be quite worried too. The heaviest oath to make, I will save this world. Corin's eyes opened wide with determination. The noble purpose that every warrior pursues the oath with the greatest ambition. The triad of rules is complete. Duty, restraint, oath. All rules will be applied to the backup player. If I fail to fulfill the oath, death will be inevitable. At this moment, Corin's body felt strange. His eyes glowed red as he screamed in pain. Chapter 4. Alisa's eyes suddenly flew open. Alisa was now lying in bed, properly tucked in. Huh. Alisa sat up, but the wound on her side caused her pain. A nurse entered, saw her, and asked, Ah, you're awake. How are you feeling? Alisa pressed, Where am I? The nurse replied, You're in Mercaria City Hospital. Alisa wondered, Who brought me here? The nurse smiled. Huh. Your relative just left. Alisa was surprised. Just left. The nurse warned worriedly, You shouldn't move yet. Alisa turned her head to look around and asked again, It's fine. Where are my things? Alisa then noticed a blood-stained belt sticking out of a backpack on the table. She looked at it and, Is this from the person who saved me? Still stained with blood, Alisa picked up the belt to examine it. Alisa's eyes sharpened as she called out, Nurse! The nurse jumped, startled. Yes! Alisa spoke loudly like a child. Is there anywhere that sells honey candy? The nurse was helpless. Right now, you can only have soup. 3 days after the rookie mission Mercaria Academy entrance ceremony. Meanwhile, Corin stood in front of the school, rummaging through his wallet. Let's see. I need a student ID to get in. What's this? Corin pulled out a letter, puzzled. A letter, I don't remember putting this in here. Corin held the letter and read as he walked. To my son, you don't know how proud I am of you. Please become a protector for those around you. Corin sighed. When did she put this in here? Corin thought about his family. Corinlock was an ordinary weak child, but he had a family. When I first came into this body, I acted awkward and distant. But they still treated me the same, and that's when I started to love this family and this world. That is the difference between Park Sihu and me. Corin clutched the letter and smiled happily. At a train station area. A large crowd stood close together at the station, everyone a bit bewildered. Wow, why are there so many trains? This is Mercaria Academy? A beautiful girl with blue hair and a flower on her hat approached smiling and saying, Hello, new students, please gather here. The girl approached Corin and greeted him. Are you a new student too? Corin flustered, introduced himself. I'm Corinlock. The girl exclaimed, Wow, you're really tall, you must eat a lot. The girl held out a potato and offered enthusiastically, Want a potato? Corin was a bit surprised. A while later, a train finally started moving. The girl stood on the train, introducing the surroundings as they went. That's the creation building where magic students gather and study. That person is Mariottet, a second-year student who is the top of Mercaria Academy, loved by everyone and has a very bright future. Mariottet exuded the energy of a leader but was very approachable. Over there is the physical training room. They lend out a lot of cool weapons. In life, people will encounter many unexpected misfortunes, and in the future, Mariottet will face a great misfortune. She is the final boss of Act 1. At this point, the train had stopped. Mariottet reminded them, "All right, when you get off, everyone please take 1 potato and 1 sweet potato." Mariottet didn't get off with everyone. She held onto a pole on the train, waved, and said, "Good luck, see you all later." Mercaria Academy is free, a vast academy filled with elite young faces. Corin also stepped inside and noticed something. The expansion magic has begun. Corin stood amid a crowd that suddenly panicked because the lights went out. "What's going on? Can anyone see anything?" A voice rang out. "Don't panic, students. How can students of this academy be frightened by such a trivial thing?" Suddenly all the students were floating in the air. Corin picked his ear with his finger and thought, "That's Old Man Heyman's voice. He says that every time. It's like a training camp." This world has a history of fighting against the demon race. The most effective weapons against them are superhumans who can use aura or mana, and the place to train these people is the Warrior Academy Mercaria. A figure appeared from a distance. "Ah, hello." It was a man with cool, unique fashion who approached and greeted them. "I am the Savage Professor Fermax, in charge of this year's entrance ceremony. Savage Fermax, Professor of the Night Department." Corin smirked. "It's been a while since I've seen this guy." Fermax continued, "Most of you probably came here to become knights or mages. When you arrived, your certificates were already sent here." Fermax taunted, "But don't be all talk and no action. Let me see what you're capable of." All the students stood still as a small screen lit up in front of them. Corin's profile appeared. Corinlock Aura rank, 680, low mana rank, 120, very low. Aptitude rank, not very low, overall, rank 6, THLNK. Corin looked bored. "So boring, but my physical strength stat is shocking." A series of numbers appeared. Fermax said loudly, "Ah, you're looking at your rankings. Please stand in front of the number that matches your..." Corin stood in line smiling wryly. "There are about 400 people, so I'm in the bottom one." Fermax suddenly smiled sinisterly. "Good luck, everyone." The students lined up in rows and began searching for their numbers. A strange voice spoke while observing the students through a crystal ball. This person commented, "This year's batch has a lot of hidden talent." Ahem. A blonde girl pushed up her glasses and said, "There's no need to measure the first and second ranked students. Let's wait until we've evaluated the others." Second rank, the granddaughter of the sword genius Alisa Aiden, the cleric of Avalon Eon, the mercenary of the sword factions Donwarski, the golem engineer Crenel Luden, and the sole first rank, a girl dressed as a nun with a gloomy aura, the heavenly Yaksha Yuran, the black-haired girl with captivating red eyes. The blonde girl, observing through the crystal ball, continued, "That child actually enrolled. What is the principal thinking?" A man stroked his chin and asked, "Do we need to test the 6th ranked student? The 5th rank doesn't look like much. Let's just eliminate the 6th rank right away." The girl with glasses holding a whip growled threateningly, making the man break out in a cold sweat. "The principal said all students have the right to learn. Do you dare go against his wishes?" The man snapped his fingers. "Well then, let's begin." Suddenly a metal locker dropped forcefully in front of Corin. Corin observed it and wondered, it's a weapon locker. A voice announced, "Monsters will swarm in 30 minutes. Please handle as many monsters as possible. A test that puts me in an empty space and makes me fight monsters according to my level." Corin clicked his tongue. "This is tough." 5-6. The countdown began. Corin approached the locker and opened it. Let's see. Most 5th or 6th ranked students wouldn't use their brains and would just grab whatever they wanted. And most would choose a sword. Corin touched the sword in the locker. I did the same in my past life. Time was running out. Monsters also began appearing out of nowhere. They were short-bodied hunting dogs, rank Ank 5 monsters. Corin took the sword and made a few test swings, commenting, "Ah, the sword is cool, but they say it takes 100 days to master the spear, 1,000 for the saber, and 10,000 for the sword." One time's up. So the answer is a spear. Corin forcefully threw the weapon at the monsters. As expected, The spear went straight through the monster's head. The illusion faded. Corin smiled. Sorry about that. The wolves charged in fear. Another blow landed on one. The last two remaining wolves were finally defeated. Corin said, "But I have..." Corin smiled confidently. Too much experience killing you guys. Chapter 5. Corin pulled the spearhead from the monster lying on the ground, then spoke. Let's see. 20 seconds. A bit long. He thought to himself, in my past life I couldn't even kill these hunting dogs and was eliminated, but this time is different. Corin was extremely confident. I will kill all of them until I reach the next rank. Then he spoke aloud. All right, bring in the next wave. I've reached the 5-minute mark. There was nothing around him. Even he himself was silent. A look of confusion appeared on his face. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he wondered, why is there nothing? Is the system broken? Over here. Baron Cassius was watching the students' battles, his expression extremely disappointed as he clicked his tongue. Tsk, tsk, tsk. If they can't even kill those, what else can they do? Back in my day I could kill level 5 monsters in just 1 minute and 22 seconds. He glanced at another screen and sighed incessantly. If level 5 is like that, I don't expect anything from level 6 either. Huh. Baron Cassius saw Corin Locke rank 6 THLNK sitting and yawning leisurely, and wondered, what the monsters aren't being summoned? There must be an error. Just then, 3 more different monsters appeared in Corin's room. Why isn't the next level of monsters coming out, huh? Why is it this bunch? Baron Cassius was still watching the students getting attacked and screaming, cursing, Ha, these pathetic bastards! But he didn't notice Corin eagerly fighting monsters behind them. Bang clang. The corner of Baron Cassius's mouth curled up with some satisfaction. His tone was quite pleased. Ah, is this the first one to succeed? Wow, it only took 7 minutes and 22 seconds. Then he turned to the crystal ball and said, I thought level 3 would only take 23 minutes. What are level 5 and 6 doing, Seeing Corin relaxing as if on vacation once again, Baron Cassius was too exasperated and yelled, What's wrong with that bastard? Why is he lying down and yawning again? Is the system broken? The monsters are always summoned. Haman, noticing something strange, approached and inquired, Broken impossible. For 20 years, Miss Josephine's test magic has never been wrong. Baron Cassius pointed at the crystal ball, frowned, and said, But he should have been eliminated a long time ago. It's clear the monsters aren't being summoned. Haman looked at the person next to him and questioned, You saw that the monsters weren't being summoned. Baron Cassius felt a bit guilty, coughed a few times, and then replied, No, I don't necessarily have to see it. Haman immediately understood the problem. So you didn't see it happen. Baron Cassius, feeling interrogated and ignoring right and wrong, said, Good heavens, I told you it was an error, I'll summon them again. Inside, Corin saw the familiar monsters and got very annoyed, yelling, Ah, what the hell? Why have these same monsters been here this whole time? Then he recklessly grabbed 3 spears at once and charged, You're not even trained dogs. As soon as he threw them in the blink of an eye, the 3 demonic wolves were instantly logged out. Everything happened in just 73 seconds. The 2 people outside witnessed that surreal scene and were horrified. Baron Cassius's face contorted as he yelled, 73 seconds, what? Then he turned back and stammered, Look, Professor Fermax. Fermax, confused, asked, What's wrong? What is it? Baron Cassius asked, What's the fastest time you've recorded for level 3 and level 4? Fermax, still unaware, calmly replied, There was a kid named Jaeger who did it in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Why do you ask? Baron Cassius became even more hesitant and cautious. It's nothing. Seeing how skilled he is with a spear, he must be the son of a hunter. As soon as he finished speaking, he directly summoned a level 4 boar monster. Let's see how he faces a level 4 monster. The result was that the boar still lost, and the time was even faster than before, 37 seconds. Baron Cassius shouted in frustration, This won't be that easy, and then directly created a level 3 bear owl monster. When Corin saw it, he was as calm as if seeing a small bird. He immediately gripped his spear tightly bent down and charged. Then he leaned in and stabbed the spearhead straight into its body. But the attack did nothing to the owl bird. It still had enough strength to throw Corin off. The system displayed a notification, Kenna, and at the same time, Corin's hand lit up. The owlbird immediately burst into flames. The terrible pain made it scream non-stop. At the gathering place for those watching the match, Baron Cassius yelled, drawing everyone's attention, "Ancient rune magic." Even Fermax was intrigued. Ancient runes! Even though it was burning, the giant owlbird was very resilient. It shook off the flames. Corin spoke, "It seems it's not very effective." But Corin leaped high into the air, swinging the spear forward. Then he leaned back to gain momentum. "It will block your vision. That's enough." Finally, he decisively stabbed downwards. Haman, witnessing the whole affair, marveled to himself. That kid, he's definitely not a normal level 6 person. It's a pity the monster test only goes up to level 3 monsters. Wow, it's been a long time since I've seen someone so interesting. I'm really looking forward to when he fights a demon. While Haman was still intrigued, Baron Cassius next to him looked a bit concerned. Let's start the test with a level 5 demon. Corin stood solemnly, sensing his surroundings. Something has definitely been summoned. But I can't see or hear it. It's due to the restraint penalty. The system announced, "Restraint, I cannot perceive souls. I cannot feel or touch souls." If that's the case, it means I can't touch the demon. Corin slowly closed his eyes. Let's see if my guess is correct. Then he counted in his head, 1, 2, 16, 17, 45, 46, 58, 59, 60. After calculating, Corin's eyes snapped open with a mysterious smile on his lips. Done. It's definitely been activated. I've confirmed everything. It was unclear what he was thinking, but he raised his hand high and declared, "I will give up." Test results: Level 5 Hunting Dog Monster 73 seconds, Level 4 Boar 37 seconds, Level 3 Bear Owl 11 seconds. When Corin got outside, he was very pleased and said, "Excellent." Meanwhile, Baron Cassius was stunned, flabbergasted, and fell backward. He withdrew. Baron Cassius was completely frozen. This kid, what in the world is he? After just a few minutes, the hall was crowded with people. The people around eagerly asked each other about their recent battles. "Hey, what was your rank?" "Level 4. I'm done for." "What about you?" Hey, level 3. "Wow, so you killed both the bear owl and the stomach demon." Jaeger Hinch Peter was holding his head high with pride on one side. Corin realized, that kid, he's the one who started the fight with the player at the beginning of the story. In Corin's past life, Memories Park Sihu had killed him because he provoked him. He rubbed his neck, finding it a bit difficult to face. He thought to himself, although Jaeger is a bit arrogant and snooty, it's normal for his age. Oh well, that madman. Suddenly, someone said loudly, "Look, they're level 5, wow, so they couldn't even beat the monsters. Someone even lost to the hunting dogs and demons." On another side, Lark was in a state of fear, his whole body trembling. Corin noticed it. Lark was too arrogant, and while slandering me and Sihu, he also met the same end as Jaeger. Just then, someone came up to the stage to speak. "Ahem, good morning, everyone." That person began to introduce himself. "I am the director Eryu Kaza. To become strong, you have joined this academy, a place where the strong gather." Eryu looked down at the students below and continued his speech. "Some of you are already strong enough, while others still have a long way to go. Although I cannot guarantee that you will achieve what you want here, I still hope you can find your own path in this place. We are here to help you take the first steps correctly. From the second step onwards, it is your responsibility." Finally, he gave a slight smile and concluded his speech. "That is all from me. I wish you all a pleasant day." People gradually dispersed in all directions. Jaeger was full of energy, laughing loudly and saying, "From this day on, I am a level 3 knight. I Jaeger Hinch. Peter will, He was talking when he suddenly noticed Lark sitting in a corner. He rushed over to start a conversation. "Hey!" Lark was startled. "Huh?" Jaeger asked. "What level are you?" Lark timidly replied, "I'm level 5. And so he was immediately ridiculed by Jaeger. Level 5. How pathetic, you couldn't even kill a demon or a hunting dog. Corin couldn't watch anymore, so he walked up, put an arm around Lark's shoulder, and smiled brightly. "Hey, you." Jaeger frowned and questioned, "Who are you?" He didn't answer right away, but praised him admiringly. "Wow, your tattoo is so cool. The artist must be really skilled. Even the veins look good. The tattoo on your back is your blood type, right? so you can get a quick blood transfusion when you're injured. You're really well prepared. Jaeger was a bit dazed at first. Huh. But then he felt excited and replied, "Wow, you know a lot." To be honest, my mom did this tattoo for me. She's a tattoo artist. Her specialty is line work, but because I asked, she tattooed it in an old-school style. Corin also chimed in continuously, "She's amazing. Do you have any other tattoos?" But those were just perfunctory questions because he already knew everything. How? In my past life, when Jaeger went missing, his mother came to and said that his tattoos weren't just for looks, but because she was worried about her son at the academy. Truly, a parent's heart. Returning to the present, Jaeger happily rolled up his sleeve to show off his mother's amazing work. "I have one here too. This is a flying carriage, the symbol of Mercaria Academy." Corin marveled. "Wow, that's..." After a while, he finally introduced himself. "I'm Corinlock, and you?" Jaeger replied energetically. Jaeger. Corin then asked the boy opposite him. "And you, Lark?" A bit startled, replied Lark. The three of them continued to chat enthusiastically, not noticing a pair of eyes watching them from afar. Alisa Aiden watched them with a warm smile. So he saved his friend who was being bullied. That's why. The bright and friendly appearance of Corin gave Alisa Aiden the impression he seems like a good person. Back to Corin's side. And that's how I left a good impression on Lark. Lark's ability is memory, I think. The corner of his mouth curled into a deep, scheming smile. "I've found it, my free skill book." While Corin on this side was laughing cunningly, hey, Alisa Aiden behind him was blinded by the love devil and thought, his smile is cute too. What kind of person is he? Chapter 6. Most of Mercaria's facilities are provided for free. The coffee here is cheaper than outside, and the dorms are free. Among them, the most recommended facility is the training room. This place is spacious and modern with advanced equipment. Corin was inside practicing with a spear. He turned around, preparing to unleash a masterful strike. The reason is very simple. When using this room, even impossible training becomes possible. For example, fighting a spiritual being that I can't see. Corin used all his strength to launch countless attacks into the empty space in front of him. Outside, two people were looking in. One of them spoke up. "Look, that first year is using a spiritual being to train." They took turns discussing, "Usually you don't have to train with spiritual beings until the second semester. That kid probably heard rumors and decided to practice this. I heard that many second-year students can't even catch a wind-type spiritual being." Suddenly, Corin was hit by the spear, which bounced back and struck his head. The group of people laughed gloatingly. "Look at that! Trying to act tough!" Corin panted heavily after training, asking himself, "Is it still too much for me?" Heyman approached from behind and asked, "So you're a first-year?" Corin was a bit startled. "Huh," Corin politely said, "Hello, coach." Heyman wondered, "Why are you fighting a spiritual being?" He replied, "To practice my spearmanship." Heyman inquired, "Are you confident you can do it?" Corin affirmed with certainty, "I will do it." Although he appeared calm on the outside, he was very wary on the inside. Why is he suddenly approaching me? Is there something wrong with... Heyman's gaze was as sharp as if he wanted to see right through him. But in the end he broke into a bright smile and praised him. "Great spirit here, I'll give you 10 meal tickets." Then he decisively turned and left, even cheerfully saying, "Come find me when you've done it. I'll reward you." Corin behind him didn't understand anything and just accepted it. "Yes, sir." As soon as the person left, Corin sighed in relief. Startled, why was I so worried? A reward of food. That's good, isn't it? Corin returned to what he was doing. Now let's start again. He didn't notice Mariottet had been standing outside the whole time. Inside, Corin continued to train eagerly. Once again, he was hit back by his own spiritual being and seriously injured. Ugh! He was thrown straight back, slamming into the wall and crying out in pain. Ugh! And so he lay there, panting heavily. Suddenly, a soft cloth gently fell onto Corin's face from above. Mariottet lowered an empty cup and asked, "Is it very difficult?" He lay still on the ground and replied, "Yes, it's very tiring." Mariottet used her ability to create a stream of cool water. "You should rest. You've worked very hard." Then she brought the cup of water to Corin and said, "You just need to get more used to it. One day you'll be able to do it. Try again next time." He raised his hand to take it, but in his heart, he was denying it. "No, I don't have a next time, though I'll probably have a year or two. Before there was Park Sihu, we had the player window potions and skill books too. But now Park Sihu is no longer here. I killed him, so now I have to do everything on my own." Thinking of that, Corin spoke up. "Thank you. I'll give up later." That statement made Mariottet a bit surprised. As soon as he finished speaking, he jumped up full of determination, affirming to himself, "I must become the strongest." Then he continued to fight with his own spirit refinement. "First, I have to determine my limits. It might be a bit much, but I have to test my current abilities." Blow by blow launched with extreme precision and force. He defeated his own spirit refinement with the spear tip. He had put so much effort into. Corin let out a long breath. He knew one thing for sure: I don't have a strong body, nor do I have strong magic power or aura. Information about Park Sihu in the future is also useless when facing monsters and these geniuses. But to fight monsters and geniuses, I have to work harder than anyone else. That's the only way. Finishing his thought, he gripped the weapon in his hand and continued to practice tirelessly. His eyes were filled with unyielding determination. "The past 3 years will not betray me." Corin charged forward to continue the attack. Suddenly he threw the spear high into the air. Mariottet saw this and thought in amazement. He threw away his spear. Has he given up? But in a flash, he caught it and gripped the spear firmly in his hand. Only then did Mariottet realize the young man's intention. No, he caught it, and he was catching it. On the opposite side, Corin was leaning back, his firm hand extended straight forward. Then he changed direction. He pushed his other shoulder up. The arm gripping the spear also moved forward. He threw the spear, its tip piercing straight through the spirit refinement. It created a huge explosion high above, a space as dazzling as the cosmos, making Mariottet look up in awe. Strong, brilliant, those words don't even fit him. Mariottet was so amazed she couldn't utter a word. "Wow!" she marveled in her heart, her eyes shining brightly. Looking at Corin's majestic presence high above, she couldn't help but praise, "He's amazing." But after being cool for just 3 seconds, Corin was free falling to the ground. Mariottet was alarmed. "Are you okay?" "Junior." Mariottet's call didn't make Corin get up. He was still lying motionless on the ground. "I overdid it." The spear next to him also broke after that blow. Corin thought to himself, "At least with this body?" The next day at the vast and magnificent academy building, Mariottet, still with her pure and cheerful demeanor, "Hello, juniors. Today I will introduce the school's facilities to you. This is the pride of our school. And this is—" Even though Mariottet was in the middle of speaking, Corin below paid little attention. He was only focused on his own thoughts. To fight properly, the body is the most important thing. To improve my physical condition without relying on Park Sihu's drugs, there's only one way. At this time, Mariottet had led the students on a tour. Corin still paid no mind, his eyes glancing slightly behind him. The teaching. Don't ignore the misfortunes of others. Lark was still focused on the book in his hand. So Corin friendly approached, put his arm around Lark's shoulder and started a conversation. "Hey there, friend." Lark was a bit surprised. "Huh." He then suggested, "Wanna go eat with me?" Then he took the opportunity to whisper in the other's ear and talk about spellbooks too. A spellbook, simply put, is a skill book, a powerful artifact that allows you to gain magic or certain attributes just by reading it. The Mercaria Academy Library is the size of the entire academy, storing and passing down knowledge to future generations. That's just nonsense. In reality, this place is used to hide spellbooks. By now, the two of them were inside the library searching for books. Corin laughed and said, "To hide a tree? You hide it in a forest, right?" Lark frowned and said sternly, Yeah, you have to keep your promise," Corin replied very confidently. "Of course, as long as you meet the conditions, you'll get the spellbook." He thought to himself, Lark is very hard-working, a model student, a good kid. He remembered all kinds of magic and wrote them down in his notebook. Of course, no matter how many spells were in there, using them all was still very difficult. If your level and mana level are too low, then even if you're good at theory, you can't do anything. Just then, some books fell at Corin's feet which caught Lark's attention. But having a spellbook is a different story, ABCD. Lark, sweating, reminded him, don't mess around anymore. Just as I thought, Corin had opened a secret passage behind a tall bookshelf. Lark, extremely surprised, exclaimed, a secret door! How did you find it? He didn't answer the question directly, just urged, let's go. Lark, standing behind, called out, wait for me, let's go together. Lark followed behind, his eyes darting around and his mind filled with fear. So scary, Corin called softly. Lark. Lark jumped and asked, huh? Corin said seriously, it's time for you to fulfill your promise. You have to do well. Lark immediately and decisively grabbed his hand and said firmly, okay, you want me to help fight the demon, right? But what do I have to do before he could finish? Poor Lark was punched so hard by Corin he was unrecognizable. Seeing his opponent down, he even laughed smugly. Hey, shall we begin? Chapter 7. Lark was lying flat on the ground. Corin thought to himself, although I originally came here to save Lark and also to complete a special mission, if I catch the demon here, I can get the hidden fragment I want. But his eyes glanced slightly to the side. There was a small problem. Behind him loomed a tall and ferocious figure, Duke Sabancia the demon. This confirmed one thing: this mission was impossible. Corin rested his chin on his hand with a dejected look. Why can't I just catch a normal one? Why does it have to be the demon? Sabancia, with his glowing red eyes, exuded a terrifying, murderous aura that sought to suppress everything an attack from the former commander of the South 800 years ago, which killed most players right after the mission began. Facing those magic orbs, Corin remained very calm. Of course I'm not one of them. His unusual calmness made him stand proudly before a fierce beast. The system announced, restraint cannot see souls. Sabancia continued to attack Corin. The Duke's attacks have no effect on me. He could even calmly pick his ear. Of course. Is there a problem? The problem is, I can't see him either. Corin spoke up. Duke Sabancia, sorry, but I can't see you. Then he picked up Lark and suggested, how about you possess this guy's body? In this world, there are many different factors. This is one factor that turns ordinary people into demi-humans like vampires or werewolves. One day, Duke Sabancia awoke as a vampire and killed his servant. Although he restrained his vampiric instincts, he ultimately failed, fearing he would kill both his wife and daughter. The Duke had to move his entire family elsewhere and close the city gates to avoid a massacre. He used magic to seal himself in a book, which is the very magic book in this library. After being possessed, Lark's entire body blazed with blood-red magical energy. His eyes were terrifying, his fangs grew long, and he howled like a fierce wolf. Sabancia in Lark's body lunged, wanting to tear Corin apart. He exclaimed, he's aiming straight for me. Is it because he's a vampire and something triggered him, making him go berserk? But he was very calm and analyzed. The second reason I chose Lark is because when he's possessed by a demon like Duke Sabancia, he can unleash his maximum hidden potential. The model student Lark. Sabancia leaped high, preparing to deliver a decisive blow from above. In Legend of the Hero of Ahan, he had the lowest physical strength stat. Thinking of that, Corin immediately threw a punch, sending Sabancia crashing face first to the ground. After hitting him, he thought, I feel sorry for Lark, but this is the best strategy to complete the mission. Alright, if I kill Lark while he's possessed by the spirit, I can get the highest level item like the Duke's Cloak or Vampire Armor, for example. They are all items that Park Sihu used, playing a major role in future events. The corner of Corin's mouth curled up with smugness, but I'm different from him. He suddenly spoke up and asked, aren't you curious, Your Grace, about your wife, Duchess Luina, and also your daughter, Duchess Celia? He then sat down and chatted intimately about how they lived after being sealed by you. And after that, I told the Duke many stories about how his wife passed away after leaving the city, and how his daughter became a talented adventurer who traveled around the world. I don't like Park's methods, yes, but as Corin, who also has a family I love in this world. After finishing his story, Corin asked, what do you think, Your Grace? Are you satisfied with my answer? The more I want to let this poor soul die a decent death. Sabancia's tears slowly fell, a feeling he had never experienced before. The man's true nature was now revealed. Sabancia gently wiped away her tears. Her voice softened. I'm sorry for lunging at you. Thank you for telling me. Corin laughed and replied, it's fine. I wasn't hit anyway, and even if I was, Lark's punch is weak. Then he continued, I still have something to ask. Before he ascended, we talked for a long time. Finally, Corin completed the quest and received his loot Epic Soul Ash for the remnant soul of the demon Duke Sabancia. Grimoire, a magic book. The book that once contained the sealed soul of Duke Sabancia. Inside are special abilities and spells. If you read it, you can learn them. Rebirth of the Tenacious Warrior. You have acquired a new special ability. And finally, the most valuable and mysterious item, you have acquired a new special ability. You have used the Grimoire. Rebirth of the Tenacious Warrior is like a warrior who never loses the will to fight. As long as your will is strong, your body will continue to recover. Corin held the items in his hand, his expression displeased as he thought, Rebirth of the Tenacious Warrior is the ability that Bastard Park had, but I don't know the extent of its recovery since he was never really injured in the first place. Lark then woke up with a sharp pain in his jaw. Seeing this, Corin said, You're awake, don't move too quickly, an evil spirit just possessed your body. Lark wondered, Shouldn't my jaw hurt if I was possessed? Startled by the question, Corin looked away and tried to change the subject. I don't know either, I guess so. Then he gently took a blue book and handed it to the other person. Stop talking, take this. Lark held his face in astonishment. Is this a grimoire? The final reason I chose you, Lark. Lark approached in surprise and asked again to be sure, Can I really have this? Seeing Lark's excited and delighted expression as he read the first few pages, Corin thought to himself, Sometimes I want to see how a person strives to earn their reward. The system announced quest. Don't ignore the plight of the good completed. Quest Duke Sabancia, difficulty B reward. 80 points distributed evenly. Detailed information cannot be viewed. Corin supported Lark's tired body. Seeing the notification, he was stunned. I got 80 points in this game, you get 5 stat points per level up. So this number is equivalent to leveling up 16 times. I didn't even see a level up notification, which means the base reward is just 80 points. Could it be to compensate for the fact that I can't directly increase my stats, but with this much experience? As he thought, Corin carried Lark and headed outside. Quest Precept. Don't be indifferent to the misfortune of good people. 40 stat points evenly distributed bonus X2. Corinlock was not indifferent to the misfortune of Lark Bugman. 40 stat points evenly distributed bonus X2. Corinlock was not indifferent to the misfortune of Duke Sabancia. The scene changes to the physical training room. Mariottet Dunalef's cheerful voice rang out, Hey everyone, does anyone want some potatoes? Everyone enthusiastically welcomed this simple dish. Mimi, Mariottet quietly approached Corin and asked, Are you planning to capture a spirit body again today? He answered, Yes. Mariottet hesitated. Then she smiled and said, I believe you can do it, Junior. I'll be cheering for you. The guys chewing on potatoes behind them were all disdainful. Mariottet, how can a 5th-rank first-year brat catch a spirit body? I was very focused, but I failed yesterday too. Don't give him false hope. That new kid, why does he keep trying to get Mariottet's attention? Mariottet chuckled, is that so? Then she said loudly, Then I bet 2 gold coins that my junior will succeed. The people around her said in annoyance, Mariottet, why do you keep looking after him like that? I bet 70 silver coins he'll fail. Corin, on his side, was exhausted. Why are they using me for a bet? I just want to train. His hand slowly gripped his own spear as he thought, Whatever, I just need to focus. I got stats from helping Sabancia ascend, so I'm sure I can catch it, but now I don't even know how strong I've become. He decisively swung his spear in a long, powerful arc. Let's start with the weakest basic ones, Explosive Serpent's Thrust. Then he charged forward like a storm. The technique I used to defeat spirit bodies before was the Serpent's Slither among the Serpent's Intent techniques. This technique is quite difficult, so using the most basic move, Explosive Serpent's Thrust, it would probably be hard to take it down in one hit. Instantly, the spirit body was hit and scattered everywhere. The people who had just been looking down on him were now wide-eyed and open-mouthed. Just one hit has Explosive Serpent's Thrust reached that level. The strange thing was, even Corin was surprised by his own ability at this moment. Wait, isn't that too strong? Mariottet approached to praise him. Yesterday he shocked everyone with just 3 moves, right? This time you only needed 1 hit. Ah, he replied with some hesitation. Yes. He thought to himself, what is this? She must have seen everything yesterday, right? More importantly, a mage who can see serpents' intent with the naked eye. What kind of absurdly sharp eyesight is that? Mariottet beside him asked softly, what's wrong? Then she suddenly handed him a small pouch and said, here's your share. Corin was dumbfounded. Huh. Looking at the dejected crowd behind them, Mariottet explained, thanks to you, I earned a little something too. Of course I should give you a share. Corin asked again, my share. Mariottet wondered, what, you don't like it? He smiled slyly and thought, of course I like it. Who would ever turn down money? After receiving the money, Corin was delighted. Mariottet, you're really smart. Keep it up in the future. Night fell and the full moon illuminated the entire sky. As Corin ate dinner, he pondered, it was the same in my past life. I fought hard to refine my martial arts, and it's the same now. I'm about to reach the 5th of the 6 steps to enlightenment. He ate 1 cake after another. There's still a long way to go, but my spearmanship is improving faster than I thought, so I'm not that worried. The problem is ancient magic. Corin was drawing a symbol when the system appeared, U-Lark Mana. He said to himself, I couldn't master it completely in my past life either, because ancient magic requires a huge amount of mana. If I can master it, I'll definitely be much stronger than in my past life. I should think it over carefully. Suddenly a voice rang out, You! Corin froze. That voice. No matter how much I hone my spearmanship and master ancient magic, the bastard I could never defeat is already at this academy. The only woman that even Park Si-hoo could not kill one of the most powerful forces in the legend of Ahan's heroes. The infamous balance breaker. The girl sitting there is the one known as the extraordinary Yaksha Warren. He wondered, why did she suddenly appear here, and she's talking to me too? I don't know the reason, but I'll just ignore her and leave. I can't handle this bombshell. Warren spoke, but her words were intermittent and hard to understand. You have been merged. Warren's eyes were as cold as ice, her deep voice echoing steadily. I don't think you are the owner of that body. Corin froze, sweat pouring down like he was in a shower. Huh? He wondered to himself, how does she know I've possessed this body? His eyes widened, his pupils constricting, confirming what Warren had just stated. Chapter 8. Warren sat still thinking to herself, it seems to be one body with 2 souls, a human and a demon beast coexisting. Warren's very existence was a defiance of nature. It is said that the yin-yang eyes of those on the border between life and death can see the color of souls. Perhaps it would be stranger if she didn't notice. Corin's gaze on the other person was extremely focused and sharp. Warren suddenly spoke up, asking, how was it, what did it feel like to crush and devour that original soul? He calmly crossed his arms and replied, I don't know. Warren questioned him in astonishment. In my past life, this also troubled me greatly. Are Corinlock and I 2 different people? Are the assimilated memories truly Corinlock's and not my own memories? If so, who was the me that attended the all-boys middle school, the all-boys high school, and majored in military fluid dynamics? The image of Corin lying stretched out on the water, his vacant eyes staring far into the distance. He thought, but it was all futile. Warren was different. She said seriously, because that body is truly the original. The true owner of that body is not you. You are just a thief who has seized it. You have no right to control that body. Every single word struck at a truth that few knew. Corin suddenly told an unrelated story. In a neighborhood near my hometown, there was a guy who would turn into a green giant whenever he got angry. His name is Brooks. Do you know him? Hearing this, Warren was a bit bewildered and asked back. Corin acted like a lunatic, laughing and putting on a show. The funnier thing is that these 2 opposite personalities hate each other. What do you think? It's very interesting, isn't it? Because they're good at different things. This left Warren completely confused, sitting in silence. He then seriously presented his case. Anyway, what I mean is whether it's the original soul or a newly formed one, they both have different personalities, and isn't that how they coexist? The corners of his mouth turned up slightly, revealing a very bright smile. His words also came out naturally and gently. Whether we like it or not, we were born in one body, because when you're born, no one is guilty of anything. Warren seemed stunned, as if stopped by some force. After waiting for a long while as the wind blew, Warren began to speak. In this world, there are some whose very birth is a sin. Corin thought to himself, I know her anguish all too well when she says that. But now, without any hesitation, he decisively turned and walked away, not forgetting to call back, see you later. Warren just remained silent, not even turning her head to look at him. The next day, Corin was walking down a path searching for something. Let's see, it should be in the southern part of the academy. The only reason I left the dormitory before I could hear the birds chirping to signal the start of the weekend was the quest board. By taking on quests big and small here, I can level up for the next main quest. This means it's necessary for my progress. However, my goal isn't to level up, so I don't need to be too picky. I just want to test this one thing. His eyes focused on the request papers above. Then he was suddenly drawn to the girl next to him. Anyway, why is she looking so intently? Looking at Alisa Aiden's extremely serious expression, Corin thought to himself, thinking back, I don't have much information about Alisa. In my past life, that bastard Park killed her, and now my memories are different from what I saw in the game. With that thought, he called out, Alisa Aiden. As soon as she heard him, Alisa Aiden bowed politely. Oh, hello, she said. He wondered, it's only the first weekend and you're already taking a quest. Aren't second years not in a rush for achievements? Alisa Aiden hesitantly replied, well, it's because I need money. Finding this strange, Corin questioned her, don't second years get a lot of financial support for activities? Alisa Aiden, on the verge of tears, explained sadly, they said they won't provide it to me because my family's income is in the top 10% of the kingdom. After understanding, he felt a bit embarrassed. His brows furrowed slightly as he pondered. That's right. Just like the scholarship system in Korea, those from wealthy families don't receive any activity support funds. Alisa Aiden continued sadly. Furthermore, my family has a hands-off parenting style, so I have to earn my own living expenses at a minimum level no matter what I say. Hearing this, Corin felt sorry for her. Her situation seems really complicated, huh? Then he pointed to a paper posted on the board and said, if you need money right away, how about this patrol quest? This one pays quite well. Alisa Aiden exclaimed excitedly, really? Then she seized the opportunity to suggest, they accept up to 3 people. Do you want to do it together? Corin answered bluntly, I can't, I have something else to do. Without hesitation, he grabbed a quest slip with a small scribbled drawing of a cat on it. My precious weekend. I'll choose the most worthwhile one, which is completing this quest and quickly increasing my stats. The first quest is to find a cat named Nabi. No sooner said than done, Corin went to the cat owner's house and accepted the quest. The experience points and rewards were both low, but that didn't matter because his goal was a precept. If you rescue and return the cat Nabi, who was almost killed by a water. In his imagination, he was facing a terrible creature to save the little cat. I'll be able to prevent the owner's misfortune of losing a pet and falling into depression, and after finding the kitten, little Anna was so happy she burst into tears while the cat looked on with a clueless expression. The system announced, duty fulfilled. You were not indifferent to the misfortune of Anna Macmillan. Difficulty E, reward 5 points distributed evenly. Corin laughed like a madman with delight. Excellent. The precept really works like that. Even small quests will help me increase my stats a lot. Meanwhile, Anna ran away in fear, and it's likely he was the one who scared her into crying, Mommy, that person is so weird. Corin continuously took on quests to help people and eliminate evil obsessed with points. Then he even retrieved a lost ring for someone, his mind repeating 2 words like a madman points. Suddenly, he remembered something that made him pause for a few seconds. Wait. There's a quest more important than points. I even made a note of it before going out. I almost forgot. The scene shifts to a very strange-looking house where someone's voice shouts, This isn't it. It turned out to be Yoon Keijo slamming the table and causing a ruckus. This isn't it either. For some unknown reason, Yoon Keijo was so angry that he even broke an innocent table. I've made a sauce created from over 10 ingredients like garlic, carrots, and chili peppers, but the sauce that fulfills my wish, one that makes even cold chicken delicious, I haven't been able to find it yet. Suddenly a voice came from behind. Not that one. Yoon Kyejo, curious, asked. Who's there? Korin stood majestically at the door, the light shining on him unknowingly turning him into a main character with a radiant aura. Add malt. Your problem will be solved. Then he casually left like a madman. Haha, all right, I'm off. I must have terrible luck to run into this guy. What's wrong with that crazy person? Then he mocked his advice. What kind of idiot would add malt? Adding this won't change anything. But as soon as he tried adding a little, he was slapped in the face and shouted in amazement, this aroma, this flavor. Outside, Korin flicked his hair coolly and walked away. This is the quest I absolutely must complete. This world would be chaotic without seasoned chicken. The system announced again, duty fulfilled. Do not be indifferent to the misfortune of Yoon Kyejo's. Difficulty E, reward 5 points distributed. He frowned, as if he couldn't believe his eyes. What is this? This still works with the precept I just wanted to satisfy a personal. Then he cheered with delight and excitement. Wonderful. That's right. Someone who makes seasoned fried chicken can't be a bad person. Then he stood in the middle of town laughing like a lunatic who had just escaped an asylum. Ha ha ha, unaware that Waran was watching from a rooftop above. Waran, with her usual indifferent and emotionless expression, spoke. A strange person. Professor Josephine suddenly appeared behind her and said, You're here. I left you alone because you didn't leave the city, but you should at least get an exit permit before you go, right? Warren didn't answer. She just turned her head and walked away. Professor Josephine was a little taken aback by her action. In Waran's mind right now, she still remembered Korin's earlier words, because being born is not a sin, it's a happy thing. Then she contrasted it with the callous words of a certain man who had once condemned her, You should never have been born. Thinking of that, Waran just stood silently high above watching the crimson sunset slowly. The next morning at the hunting grounds, a dense forest. Professor Josephine was announcing the rules. Today, all first-year students will be evaluated based on their survival skills at these hunting grounds. If you can reach the hut at the northern end of the forest, you will provisionally pass. Professor Josephine instructed carefully, wear the armband corresponding to your rank. You will need to return it at the hut at the finish point. You will receive points based on the time you reach the finish line with that armband, and the reward you receive will correspond to the points you have. Korin thought, as expected, Warren didn't show up. Anyway, Warren isn't allowed to participate in practical sessions, probably due to fairness issues. Suddenly a voice called out, Korin. Hearing that, he turned back and said softly, Alisa, did you complete the quest successfully? Alisa Aiden replied, Yes, thanks to you I earned some living expenses. He said, I'm glad it was helpful. Then he suddenly offered her a rather large round candy and asked, do you want some candy? I meant to buy it for my sister, but it's too sweet for me to eat. Alisa Aiden exclaimed excitedly, What a honey bomb candy, can I really eat something this precious? Professor Josephine announced, All right, students, the hunting grounds test begins. As soon as the whip was cracked, a magic circle instantly appeared covering the entire sky, leaving everyone astonished. Only Korin was very relaxed, enjoying it. I've seen countless mages, but to use spatial magic for this many people it can only be Professor Josephine, still the same as ever great archmage. In a flash he was teleported to a strange forest. Hya! A terrified scream made Korin turn his head and sigh. It's just started, and they're already fighting. The hunt is an important event that even veterans have to retry countless times. This is a battle royale system where you start at random locations and must take your opponent's armbands to accumulate points. That's right, fight fiercely. I have no interest in any of you. He dashed past two people who were tearing at each other. A smug grin spread across Korin's face. The most dangerous person right now is the second-year Alisa with the blue armband. Korin used his finger to guide himself. Waran isn't here right now. As long as I can handle Alisa, the rest are just a bunch of free points. Alisa, you probably don't know this. I placed a tracking rune on the candy you ate. His eyes became as cunning as a schemer's, his tongue long like a snake harboring a devious plot. This rune will ensure that we meet again. Then as he dashed forward, he laughed like a madman. Ha ha ha, Alisa, Alisa! Meanwhile, Professor Josephine was speaking. Headmaster, I'm going into the forest as well. Although mages are stationed everywhere, it's better to be careful. Suddenly, Professor Josephine paused for a few seconds before continuing. Wait a minute. Thinking back, where is that child, Headmaster? Did you perhaps… Eru calmly replied, I didn't bring her here at all. She came on her own. Hearing this, a stunned Professor Josephine asked again, She came here by herself? Eru answered firmly, yes. Meanwhile, Corin was dashing forward like a blur with Warren chasing after him. Eru said, I think… It seems her heart has undergone some kind of change. Warren's eyes at this moment were terrifying, glowing a crimson red. Chapter 9. The forest was now filled with the sounds of clashes and fighting. Hey, take this! Alisa Aiden shouted. Why are you acting like this? Don't you feel ashamed? In the end, only Alisa Aiden stood defiantly questioning them. How many of you are attacking just me? The defeated ones still managed to reply. Being despicable is our specialty. Suddenly an enemy appeared from nowhere behind her, wanting to attack Alisa Aiden. This monster, hurry up and surrender! But in an instant he was knocked away by a large rock, crying out, Argh! She could only see Corin standing in the distance with crimson eyes full of killing intent. Alisa Aiden was extremely grateful. Corin, did you come to save me? He's such a good person. He suddenly spoke, Alisa, so beautiful. Alisa Aiden paused for a moment. Huh? Corin immediately lunged with his spear straight at Alisa Aiden, shouting, I said it's beautiful. That blue armband. Alisa Aiden, under constant attack, was so wronged she started to cry. Corin, I trusted you because you gave me candy. I thought you were a good person. He thought to himself, Alisa is a second-level knight and belongs to the pure martial arts school. Her special defensive ability is probably not at a state where she can use it proficiently. In terms of a person's combat power, she's an intermediate second level. Because of that, Corin let out a despicable laugh and spoke, You'll also become a good person when you hand that armband over to me. Although he was nothing compared to her, a true genius, Alisa was a talented person ranked in the top 1%. Alisa, who had just easily defeated 7 members of the 3rd and 4th level student council. When she saw Corin, a 5th level knight, she was wary. Of course, until 30 seconds ago, Alisa Aiden was now desperately parrying his powerful attacks. What is he's so strong? Corin, on the other hand, seemed to have gone mad, his eyes full of killing intent and a craze. He kept attacking while Alisa Aiden continuously dodged, closing in at very close range, weaving and attacking from a distance. He was toying with her, countering and applying constant pressure. But that doesn't mean there were no openings. His breathing rhythm was strangely different when switching between stabbing and slashing stances. If I can seize that opening, then Alisa Aiden shouted and swung her sword straight forward. But Corin remained unscathed and even mocked her. If you only rely on talent and don't gain real combat experience, it's useless. Clang, his spear slammed hard against his opponent's sword. This move was meant to suppress the opponent's momentum. Then he used his strength to push Alisa Aiden's sword straight to the ground and stabbed directly. He looked at his opponent like a juicy piece of prey. Alisa Aiden was stunned, sweat pouring down like a shower. What? Watching Corin's movements and attacks left Alisa Aiden astonished. Combining 3 basic moves into an effective attack that's also a sharp counterattack is the extreme spear. As soon as she thought of that, she was knocked back by him. Corin knew no mercy, unleashing a powerful move, 6 harmonies, spear's chaotic slaughter. Alisa Aiden was pushed back but still tried her best to defend herself. But in the end, her body was still heavily injured. Ha! Luckily I managed to use my power in time to block the attack. Otherwise, my life would have been in danger. Her expression turned grim. Alisa Aiden gritted her teeth in pain. Even though he's not overwhelmingly strong or incredibly fast, the level of perfection in each of his techniques is extraordinary. What the hell is… Looking at the spirited Corin above, she had to ask herself, is this a 5th level knight I've been completely defeated? He mercilessly took the armbands. I'll put this to good use. Suddenly a loud voice echoed from behind, dust flying everywhere. Humph! This is a total scam. Corin turned around wondering, what's that sound? Suddenly a large sword lunged forward, intending to stab Corin. Him! He frowned and struggled to block it. So heavy. This is a sword made of black iron, with 4 times the density of steel combined with auxiliary magic. It's an effective magic sword for fighting large monsters. Being attacked by this is really hard to block. Someone's voice exclaimed in admiration, "What, you blocked the great iron sword? You're no joke." Donwarski caught his sword and then made a demand. That armband put it down and disappear 5th level. Seeing his opponent's annoyance, Corin thought, I'm screwed. I think this is Donwarski. I really don't want to mess with him at all. Seeing the number of enemies lying defeated at Donwarski's feet made Corin even more wary. Despite his overwhelming record of fighting dozens of enemies alone without a scratch, that relaxed look proved he was definitely different from Alisa. So he had to choose the most practical and effective option. Well, there's no other way. It's come to this. Of the 36 stratagems, fleeing is the best. He scurried away, leaving the 2 behind. All right, fighting now is pointless. Donwarski saw this and froze, completely stunned. He never expected the main character to do that. Donwarski's legs slowly bent to gather momentum. The thing you're holding in your mouth! His eyes suddenly glowed red, full of terrifying, killing intent. It's definitely Donwarski charged forward like a wild beast, throwing all his weapons at the 2 running figures. Corin shouted, "Hey, has he gone crazy? Why is he like this? He's the type who doesn't do anything that doesn't earn him money." "Alisa, why are you following me?" Alisa Aiden replied tearfully, "Because I don't want to die either, and I don't know the way out." He thought seriously to himself, "All right, no need to fight. As long as I can get away with this armband, that'll be enough." But just as he thought that, the scene that appeared before him made him freeze. It turned out to be Cranel Luden standing there with a smug look, a giant earth monster behind him. "Well, sorry about this. If you want to pass, you have to leave the armband behind." The person speaking was known as Cranel Luden, the first-year Golem Master. Alisa Aiden angrily cursed, "You coward, I can't believe you're blocking the exit." Corin sighed wearily. "Ha! We're in big trouble now." In front was Granell blocking his path. Behind was Dron charging forward, wanting to kill him. Corin tilted his head and thought to himself, while trying to avoid fighting others, I ended up facing 2 hotshots at the same time. This time, there's really no other way. Corin tilted his head and thought to himself, while trying to avoid fighting others, I ended up facing 2 hotshots at the same time. This time, there's really no other way. Corin calmly replied, "If this fight is unavoidable, then I have no choice but to face it." The 3 of them immediately rushed at each other, starting a fierce battle. A short while later, as the sky began to darken, Corin gently knocked on the door of the house. A voice came from inside. "Oh my, it seems the champion has arrived. May I ask who it is?" With 3 pairs of armbands in his mouth, he said, "I'm Corinlock. Can I choose an item now?" The person inside the house came out with a bright smile, praising him. "Oh my, you brought back a blue armband. What a wonderful student." He replied shyly and politely, "Ha ha, it's nothing. I was just lucky." The previous battle ended with the complete defeat of Cranel Luden and the helplessness of Donwarski. Alisa Aiden, who witnessed it all, couldn't help but be amazed and impressed. Amazing. Remembering Corin's every move and skillful technique made Alisa Aiden admire him even more. He slipped through the slashes of that great sword with agility before the sword could unleash its full power. After disarming his opponent, he plunged the sword deep into the ground, making it impossible for the opponent to retrieve his weapon. The swords he couldn't block he dodged, then positioned himself, so those swords were aimed at the golems. With his quick reflexes, he swiftly hid behind Dron, using him as a shield against the golem's attacks. As a result, while Dron was blocking the golem, Corin attacked the golem's core and neutralized it. Right after that, Granel was also defeated since he no longer had a golem to control. With his agility, judgment, and determination, he showed that he was someone who had fought hundreds, even thousands of times. Everything was decided in just a brief moment. Alisa Aiden still couldn't believe her eyes. That must be experience forged over a long period of time. He's so young. How can he be that good? Watching him was like seeing my sister's shadow again. She suddenly remembered his words, "Don't just rely on talent and be lazy about real combat." A faint smile appeared at the corners of Alisa Aiden's lips. Then she learned a valuable lesson for herself. I have to work harder too. Donwarski, on the other hand, had a slightly annoyed expression, thinking to himself, before I could unleash my power, he quickly figured out how to deal with me. How did this kid spot my weakness? In an instant, that guy knew all my techniques and ultimate moves like the back of his hand. Crannel Luden was still lying injured on the ground. Corin stood above and reminded him, against small weapons with high attack power and speed, a golem is nothing but a target dummy. If I were you, I'd first ask a friend to be my escort and protector, instead of that golem. Crannel Luden suddenly asked. Hearing this, he was confused. Huh, Crannel Luden stammered. I don't... Corin immediately understood. You have friends. Corin said coldly. Then try to find yourself a friend. This made Crannel Luden tear up and curse inwardly. This bastard is mocking me. Today, 3 powerful first-year students each remembered Corinlock in their own way. As for him, he was now joyfully awaiting the winner's reward. It's all good. I didn't think it would go this smoothly. Now, among the remaining participants in the hunting grounds, the strongest one is considered to be the one who receives the protection of the forest. Yuel, she was a petite and beautiful young girl, but it wasn't just ordinary players participating here. High above Mariottet was casting water magic, creating a giant water sphere. Therefore, there was also the top mage of Merkarva Academy. Mariottet wore a seemingly friendly smile, but it was filled with killing intent. The water sphere fell as if wanting to create a tsunami to wash everything away. A drenched Yule was on the verge of tears because she was helping with the training of other members by taking on the role of a monster. For Yule, this was the first time she had met an opponent who was too much for her. And so the training process at the hunting grounds ended. Mariottet sat down and asked, Are you a new student? Hello, I'm Mariottet. Yuel stammered, My name is Yuel. She had thought so. Mariottet continued, So, what about that person over there? Yuran had been standing behind them for who knows how long. Her cold gaze only made Mariottet more curious. What's your name? Chapter 10. Yuran stepped forward and spoke with a mocking tone. Oh my, you must be looking for someone. Mariottet, not wanting to seem weak, replied, I'm just gathering my friends and will fight you if we meet. Suddenly, Yuran swiftly moved past Mariottet, leaving her so surprised she froze, unable to react. But Mariottet immediately countered by creating a large mountain of ice in front of Yuran. My apologies. You can ignore me, but according to the rules, I'm still a monster, you know, so I can't do that to you. Although Mariottet's voice and appearance were very cute, her words were full of hidden meaning. Hearing this, Yuran turned to look at her with a cold expression and said, How annoying. Meanwhile, at the shop, Corin's excited voice echoed from inside. A total of 117 points. It's been a long time since I've seen a score like this. Can I choose my reward? The rewards were already laid out, just waiting for him to choose. There was a boar-slaying dagger, a protective leather shark bear bile, and many other enticing items. Corin looked and fell into thought. The most valuable item is the shark bear bile, but I came here with a plan already. After a minute of deliberation, Corin made his decision. I'll take this. Seeing this, the shopkeeper smiled and praised him. Oh, you have a good eye for choosing that ginseng seed. The kind shopkeeper asked again, So what about the remaining 17 points? Corin had to ponder again. With 17 points, a moment later, Corin held up 2 reward cards, including a 6-point plant nutrient supplement and a 10-point pair of earplugs, and said cheerfully, Please, I'll take these. Then he joyfully walked out of the shop. Man, shopping is great! Ahead of him was a scene of devastation with clinically unconscious soldiers. At this moment, Jaeger's excited voice echoed throughout the forest. Even after playing it 1,000 times, it's never been this smooth, not to mention this is the first time I've seen so many complete this part. Oh, second place, and 19 more points. Lack huffing and puffing ran after him. Corin stood there, praising them generously. You two worked well together. Hearing the praise, Jaeger was so pleased his nose puffed up. This game is easy. Let's train in the physical training room tonight. On another side, Corin spoke up. If you still have the energy to go to the gym, help me find the cores of those golems. Luden flinched and turned to look, seeming very reluctant. Huh. Of course, Korin wouldn't let Luden off easily. "They're very valuable, aren't they? We'll help you." Luden, startled, replied, "It's fine." Korin immediately cornered Luden. "At times like this, you should say thank you." Looking at Luden, Korin remembered his past life. "I worked a lot with Kranal Luden. There aren't many heavy tanks as good as golems in semi-large monster battles. Everything is coming to an end." Second-rank mage Kranal Luden is restoring the golem's core. Second-rank knight Alisa Aiden is injured. Second-rank knight Donwarski has run out of energy. Second-rank mage Yule has fainted. Korin wearily helped Yule up, thinking, how could she die here? What are the professors doing? If life is so important, she probably just fainted. Yule, looking pitiful, said, Suddenly a terrifying roar came from the forest. Korin said in alarm, "What's happening?" A horde of all kinds of beasts charged forward at lightning speed. Seeing this, Yule urged them, "Run, Mariottet." Korin frowned and wondered, what about Mariottet? A natural talent for magical analysis combined with God-given mana energy, a mage who seemed to have never experienced despair, disappointment, or failure, that was Mariottet. A talent that would follow in the footsteps of the senior professor, Josephine. As people say, Mariottet is truly a genius. To Mariottet, this hunting ground is like a playground. She just needed to control the difficulty and help her juniors grow just like a senior would. That's how she usually did things. When at a disadvantage in a fight, Mariottet would try to calm herself and think, I need to analyze. But she didn't have time to do that, as Warren leaped up preparing to attack. Mariottet also tried to use a spell to stop her. However, it was nothing compared to Warren. Seeing the situation getting increasingly difficult, Mariottet frowned. This guy can't block her attacks with just basic magic. What kind of magic? Although Mariottet had promised the senior professor that she wouldn't use attack magic above the intermediate level, she had actually started using advanced magic. In other words, although she didn't want to admit it, Mariottet had started using her full power. At that moment, Warren kicked Mariottet straight in the stomach, causing her immense pain. Then she slammed her heart against a tree. Creating a hole in it, Mariottet struggled to defend herself. It hurt so much. Right now, Mariottet was trembling in fear, begging, "Don't come near me," because the thing in front of her wasn't a knight, a mage, or any kind of game. It was simply a natural disaster. Warren in human form. Mariottet tried to use what little strength she had left to prepare a spell. Then she screamed desperately, "Don't come near me! That's enough!" A voice from somewhere echoed, stopping her. "Warren, stop!" Hearing the familiar voice, Mariottet couldn't help but be surprised. "Huh." A woman's back appeared in front of her and she asked kindly, "Are you all right, Mariottet?" Mariottet was astonished. Professor Josephine. Knowing she was safe, Mariottet gradually relaxed. "Ah, yes, I'm fine." As soon as she finished speaking, she ran out of strength. The professor glanced at Mariottet's pathetic state without saying a word. In this hunting training ground, some unexpected results have appeared. Korin shared. First of all, the person who came in first and also got the most points was me. A 5th-rank student and the top first year. Warren and the top second year Mariottet had a conflict. Now she's being treated in the infirmary. She's seriously injured and shows no... Korin thought, how scary. I thought she had already awakened as a boss. She seems to be fine. Everything must still be following the original plot, thankfully. Well, let's leave it for now. There are still 3 weeks before she awakens. Now I need to go prepare a few things. After thinking, he stepped out of the room. At the edge of the hunting grounds forest, Korin looked around to meet someone who lived there. First, he put a lot of eye drops in his eyes. Then he pretended to carelessly drop a seed into the pond. Oops, I slipped. What should I do now? Seeing it slowly sink, Korin acted pitifully again. No, the precious seed my mother left me. No. A voice suddenly came out. Why are you crying, child? Korin smiled smugly in his heart. There you are. In the legend of Ahan's heroes, there is an Easter egg you can only use once. An Easter egg refers to a detail or interesting thing that the author has subtly hidden in a game, movie, or story to make it more interesting for the player. The hermit's golden axe. For the woodcutter who accidentally dropped his iron axe into the lake, this hermit asked if it was the golden axe or the silver axe. Like in the original story, the hermit appeared with a golden and a silver axe, but this is limited to unique grade weapons or lower. When other weapons are thrown in, there is no reaction, so everything stops there. Korin had tried dropping 500 different items into the Hermit's Lake, but then some veteran players challenged themselves by dropping a bunch of random items. Among them were even heroes, who threw in rare items and Easter egg that the developer added in their spare time. At this moment, the Hermit calmly asked, "Is this golden seed yours, child?" Korin shook his head in denial. "No, sir." "Or is it this silver seed?" "No, sir." But in his heart, he was cursing. What kind of madman would dare to drop a ginseng seed that they worked so hard to get in exchange for 100 points into the lake? Then the kind Hermit said, "Ha ha ha ha. In that case, this must be your seed." Korin replied with tears streaming down his face. "Yes, that's right. This is definitely my seed." He admitted, "Yes, that crazy hero is me." The Hermit praised him. "Even after seeing gold and silver, you are not greedy and are very honest. I value your honesty and will give you these seeds, the white silver ginseng seed and the golden ginseng seed." Just as scripted, the Hermit slowly sank. "Well then, farewell, ho-ho." Korin kowtowed in gratitude. "Thank heavens, thank you, sir. Please take care of your health." As the Hermit sank, Korin revealed his true monstrous face and laughed wickedly. "Hehehe, items that can be multiplied. Regular ginseng seeds help increase mana, but the golden and white silver seeds have very special effects. Golden ginseng seed. If you plant it, the ginseng plant will glow yellow. White silver ginseng seed. If you plant it, the ginseng plant will glow. This is a hidden piece that can only be obtained through this method in the Legend of Ahan's heroes. There were some issues with people who shouted as soon as they collected it after harvesting, but that's not a big deal. Korin thought gleefully, "In my past life, Park Sihu ate the golden seed and I ate the silver one, but now they will both be mine." What makes Mariottet become the first boss and awaken as a special vampire is the real quest that will take place in the next 3 weeks, the encounter with the murderous vampire of the city of Mistjorn. Korin doesn't know how the demon clan's underling inside Mariottet awakened, but we still have time. That's also why I showed my strength to the strong second rankers. Because no one wants to fight alongside a weak 5th rank knight, even if I ask. The first thing that interests them in a player is natural talent and strength. Korin calculated, within a week they will fully recover. At that time I will propose forming a party. The first boss of the Legend of Ahan's heroes, special vampire Mariottet Dunalef. On a full moon night, Mariottet suddenly sat up. Special vampire Mariottet still has 3 weeks before she awakens. Isabel, who was on duty beside her, noticed she had sat up and asked, "Mariottet." Then she asked worriedly, "Mariottet, are you okay? How's your throat? That first year should know her limits. You were also restricted to basic magic." But Mariottet remained silent, not answering. If Korin has enough preparation trust and enough members, he will easily save a girl from her unfortunate fate. Until then, he will train Alisa, help the mercenary drone control his sword, recruit the druid of Avalorn Forest, and get closer to the golem sorcerer Grenell. A series of goals were set, making Korin extremely excited. Good. Perfect. If I prepare well, this will be a piece of cake. As long as no variables occur. At this moment, Mariottet's eyes opened wide and red, revealing blood-red pupils. In Mariottet's eyes, she only saw Isabel as real prey. She immediately lunged and pinned Isabel down, then opened her mouth to reveal her 4 sharp fangs. She moaned hoarsely, "I'm so thirsty." Chapter 11. Suddenly, Professor Josephine slammed her hand on a stack of books and sighed, "I'm so tired of you." Then she rested her chin on her hand, frowned, and said, "If I'd known, I wouldn't have sent it to you. If you want to learn, I'll tutor you privately. Reflect on yourself." Hearing this, a dejected Warren said sadly, "Should I just jump off the building?" Suddenly at that moment, Korinlock appeared upside down outside the window and said cheerfully, "Ah, I knew you'd be here." But this startled and confused Warren. At this point, Korinlock was hanging upside down from a tree holding a box of pastries and said, "Warren Wright, I think I saw you earlier. I'm Korinlock. Can you open the window?" At this moment, Korinlock held the box of pastries in front of Warren and asked, "This is for you. I didn't know what you like, so I just bought these." Besides coming empty-handed, would be strange. Hearing this, Warren remained silent. Suddenly, Warren spoke up. Coming in here is a violation of the school's rules. Hearing this, Coranlock teased back. I'm not inside, I'm hanging from a tree. And what if I want to come in? It seems Professor Josephine isn't here right now. Though he said that Coranlock was thinking to himself, I came here in case she was injured. But she doesn't have a single scar on her. It seems she's forbidden from going out and meeting others because of what happened at the hunting grounds. Then he thought of Professor Josephine, and a serious thought crossed his mind. She's a demigod, so it's right for the professor to be worried, but locking her up like this for over 4 days is… While Coranlock was lost in thought, Warren suddenly spoke, startling him a little. She went out somewhere. It's been over 4 days and I haven't seen her here. Hearing this, a surprised Coranlock said, What, she hasn't come back here even once since then? Hearing this, Warren calmly replied, Oh. Hearing this, Coranlock was even more startled and fell to the ground, making a loud noise. Suddenly, at that moment, the system displayed a notification activating Rebirth of the tenacious warrior. As for Coranlock, he cried out in a bit of pain after falling. Ouch, that hurts, I'll see you later. I'll bring you some food later. Hearing this, Warren didn't say a word. Professor Josephine had gone out, leaving the most dangerous person at Mercarva Academy, Warren, behind. Suddenly footsteps were heard approaching, along with a stream of thought. Something's not right. At this moment, 2 people, Professor Dema and a warrior representative from the magic department, Professor Dana, and from the night department, the brutal Professor Formic. The 2 were formerly guards, were running hastily when Professor Dema asked, Have you found her yet? The warrior representative heard this and replied while running, Not yet. I'll go check the outskirts of the city. The warrior representative's footsteps became even more urgent. Warren also noticed and thought to herself, Those 2 are in a hurry as well. It can't be. Meanwhile, in another place, a soldier stood in front of a door blocking Coranlock and asked, Coranlock, what's the matter? Your meeting request was denied. Hearing this, Coranlock suddenly took out a very delicious-looking sandwich and a drink and said with a pleased expression, Oh, it's not about that. You're a 3rd-level security guard. Cronwright, Professor Josephine told me to bring you food and drinks. Hearing this, Cron took the food from Coranlock's hand without any suspicion and said, Really? She really knows how to care for her subordinates. Meanwhile, Coranlock was thinking to himself, My request to see Mariottet was denied. The person guarding Mariottet, Isabel, is missing, and they even stationed guards outside the infirmary. I felt something was strange from the beginning. At this moment, Cron, without suspicion, started eating the food with gusto. Meanwhile, Coranlock continued to observe and think, The more I think about it, the more it seems my suspicions are correct. But suddenly, after taking a bite of the sandwich, Cron immediately clutched his stomach in pain, only able to stammer a few words. This made Coranlock a little happy as he said, Oh my, what's wrong, sir? Are you having a stomach ache? I think there's a restroom over there. Hearing this, Cron quickly ran off, but not without asking for a favor. Can you stand guard for me for a bit? I need to use the restroom, but don't go inside. Hearing this, Coranlock waved his hand and replied, Yes, sir, take your time. I definitely won't. After getting past one obstacle, Coranlock sighed to himself. But the thoughts kept swirling in his head. There's no way that's happening right. There's still a whole month left. It's still too early. Please, I hope my suspicions are wrong. As he thought this, Coranlock was clenching a piece of cloth in front of him. Then he flung open the cloth in front of him and called out, Mariottet. But it didn't seem to be the person Coranlock was looking for. Instead, he called out to the person in front of him, Isabel. Then, with some disappointment, he thought to himself, Mariottet should be lying here. Why is it Isabel now? Wasn't she missing? There's no doubt anymore. Then he looked at the neck of the person called Isabel, saw 2 round marks as if she had been bitten, and confirmed his thoughts. This is what the professors are trying to hide, Mariottet. Looking at the person in front of him, Coranlock thought angrily, She has awakened as a vampire and become the final boss threat of Act 1. And besides that then, Coranlock sighed to himself, still holding the piece of cloth in his hand. Thoughts kept swirling in his head. This is happening a full 3 weeks earlier than the original script. There is a 4-stage attack strategy to defeat the final boss of the first act. Then he thought about each stage one by one, Stage 1. Quickly deal with the waves of monster attacks. Stage 2. Trap her in magic circles. While in Stage 2, the person Korenlock was thinking of was imprisoned in an extremely dark and murky space, and after gaining the upper hand by dealing damage. Stage 3. We will directly confront the powerful enemy raging in the blood domain. At that moment, an image of Korenlock's enemy also appeared. When we defeat the enemy, it will transform into its final form, and the final stage will begin. At that point, the person Korenlock was thinking of seemed to have transformed into a true vampire. The core of this attack strategy is the final form. So maybe players aren't even needed. If the top names of the Academy's first year join forces, it won't be too difficult. As he thought this, Koren pictured his 4 friends. Then he thought with some regret to get to Stage 3, but at this point, Koren thought of the image of a tearful Alisa Aiden, along with the image of a struggling Donwarski and Cranel Luden, and thought to himself, Alisa Aiden is injured because of me. Donwarski's weapon was destroyed also because of me, and Cranel Luden's golem core was destroyed and hasn't recovered also because of me. Then he thought, blaming himself, have I completely crippled all the renowned first-year students? At this moment, Korenlock suddenly clutched his head, both shocked and angry, cursing to himself, this is not good, I'm so screwed. Suddenly, at this moment, the image of a demonic vampire that Korenlock was thinking of appeared, and he thought to himself, in the original version, after encountering the murderous vampire in the city of Mist, Mariottet attacked her roommate and went on a rampage afterwards. In my past life after that happened, the scene now shifts to a dark house. We were waiting for Mariottet and Isabel, who were in the dormitory below, to quickly resolve everything. The scene Korenlock remembered then was all 5 members of Koren's faction waiting for Mariottet and Isabel. But Park Si-hoo intentionally let Mariottet escape. But thanks to me, everything is now a mess. Then he remembered the scene of Alisa being attacked and sent flying. Alisa had 8 broken bones. Grenell's golem was broken, so he was completely useless. The image of Grenell's broken golem was extremely disappointing. Suddenly the image of Warren with her formidable power appeared, and he thought to himself, I did think of Warren, but I can't predict how the battle will change if she participates. So the scene shifts to a corner of the physical training room. At this moment, Korenlock said, here's the work registration certificate. Mercenary, this mission is especially difficult. I need to find and capture this person alive. Hearing this, Donwarski frowned and said, are you crazy? The mercenary's principle is to only fight battles you're sure to win. Besides, you broke my sword. Now I only have 2 left. But before he could finish, Korenlock cut in. The reward is 20 gold coins. If you still don't believe me, I'll leave this as collateral, 100% pure, no impurities. As he spoke, Korenlock introduced the soul dust card to Donwarski. Hearing this, Donwarski let out a sound interrupting Korenlock. At this moment, Donwarski suddenly frowned, realizing something, and said, you're a truly understanding boss. At this moment, the system suddenly displayed a notification Donwarski has joined your party. Hearing this, Korenlock showed great excitement. The scene shifts to the library. At this moment, Korenlock opened a book on a shelf and quietly observed. Suddenly, while Korenlock was engrossed in his book, Yule approached and hesitantly spoke, how did you know I thought all the records had burned to ashes with the forest? Hearing this, Korenlock also replied, I read about it in a book before. The alphabet you've been using is the Ogham alphabet, right? You're here to find it, aren't you? At this moment, Korenlock decisively closed the book and added, if you help me, I will teach you all of this magic. Hearing this, Yule became cautious, frowned, and asked, tell me what I have to do. Instantly, the system displayed a notification again, Druid Yule has joined your party. Right after that was a very satisfied look from Korenlock. The scene shifts to the canteen. At this moment, Korenlock is trying to convince Lak and Jaeger, who are sitting in front of him. At this moment, Lak said, I'm forming a party. This mission will be difficult. The pay is low, and it's also very dangerous. There's a chance we'll have to face a particularly strong demon clan. Hearing this, Korenlock tried to persuade them, but if we succeed, we will gain honor and fame. Hearing this from Korenlock, Lak and Jaeger froze, stopping all their activities, which made Korin feel a bit awkward and think to himself, is it too difficult? Suddenly, at this moment, Jaeger and Locke both changed their attitudes and spoke in unison. That sounds so romantic, let us have a spot in your party. Hearing this, Korin Locke happily and generously said, great, they're obsessed with romance. Right after that, the scene shifts to a forest. Korin Locke is leading Locke Jaeger Yuel and Donwarski. As he walked, Korin Locke thought happily to himself, one sub DPS, one healer plus the others is just enough power to get through stage 1. So we've met the minimum requirements. Then Korin Locke smirked and said to himself, this is the best it can be for now. Suddenly, as he walked, Korin Locke recalled his meeting with Sihu, who had told him a few things. After that, she cried and ran into the forest. It took a lot of effort to find her. Who would have thought someone so strong would dig a tunnel in the forest and stay down there for a whole... Thinking this, Korin Locke's expression suddenly became resolute. He said she was hiding in the forest, and there's only one forest near Merkarva Academy. A moment later at the hunting grounds, one of the people with Korin Locke asked, is she really here, Mariottet? At this moment, Donwarski said, Master, I know the mission's objective, but how do we find her? Hearing this, Korin Locke replied, if we search, it might take years to find her. If you want to know, just go and ask. We'll find out one way or another, don't worry. Right. Hearing this, a slightly skeptical Yuel frowned and spoke up. Actually, what do you already know? As soon as she finished speaking, Yuel slammed her staff into the ground, creating a mystical green light along with her shout. Spirits, guide us to her. As she finished speaking, a green aura rose from the ground, enveloping Yuel's body and filling it with spiritual energy. Seeing this, Locke was extremely astonished and let out a cry while Jaeger gripped Locke's shoulder and said with great excitement, a whole swarm of spirits is gathering. As for Korin Locke, seeing everyone's reactions, he thought to himself, judging by their reactions, there must be countless spirits responding. As for me, I can't see anything. Thinking this, Korin Locke scratched his face and said, so have they found Mariottet? Hearing this, Yuel, Locke, and Jaeger were all startled and stammered, yes, so... Hearing this, a curious Korin Locke asked again, what's wrong? What are you all looking at? Where is she? Hearing this, all three of them, Locke, Jaeger, and Yuel, replied in unison, right behind you. Hearing this, Korin Locke reacted quickly, grabbing his staff and thrusting it at the monstrous creature that had appeared behind him. After just stabbing it from front to back, Korin Locke turned and attacked a few more times, then cursed. Damn it, what the hell, where did it come from? But before he was done with the back, Donwarski shouted a warning, in front of you there's a monster. At that moment, a horde of monsters appeared out of nowhere in front of Korin Locke. Seeing this, both Locke and Jaeger were a little panicked, and said in unison, did Mariottet turn into a monster? Hearing this, Korin Locke dismissed their thoughts. No way that's happening. Without much thought, Locke joined in attacking the monster with spiritual power from his book, with great difficulty. Jaeger didn't sit still either, getting excited by the monsters in front of him and laughing with delight. You dare to face me head-on, Jaeger, and just when I needed to warm up. Seeing this, Korin Locke sensed the situation was not good and warned, Jaeger, don't charge forward, they'll surround you. But Jaeger continued to advance towards the horde of monsters, so Korin Locke shouted. At this point, the situation was extremely dire, making Korin Locke a little worried as he gave an order, take 3 steps back. Don't be hasty, just keep fighting, and their numbers will gradually decrease. Locke, you provide support from the back, okay? Locke, who was at the back, heard this and replied, got it. Korin Locke didn't forget the others and instructed, Yuel, you stay with Locke. Drawn, you know what you have to do without me telling you, right? Just don't push too far forward. Hearing this, Yuel, who was in the middle of her task, also followed Korin Locke's command. Seeing Korin Locke's calm actions, Yuel praised him inwardly. Even though he was attacked unexpectedly, he doesn't seem surprised at all. Not only that, he even laid out a reasonable plan and provided support. He's not just strong, he also has the experience of a captain and a strategist to command a team. At the same time, Korin Locke and Donwarski joined forces. Their swords worked in unison to destroy the monsters. He's just like a commander. Who would have thought he's only a 5th-level knight? There must be something wrong with the Academy's ranking exam. At this moment, Korin Locke and his blade combined their strength, preparing to annihilate the entire horde of monsters. Suddenly, While lost in thought, Jaeger loudly called out to Yule, snapping her out of it. "Hey, I thought Mariottet was supposed to be here. What's going on? I don't see her, only monsters." Hearing this, Yule also stammered a reply. "Well, I just followed what the spirits told me." At this moment, Lak seemed to have figured something out and said angrily, "Is Mariottet controlling them? Monsters don't hunt in packs like this. They seem more aggressive than usual." While struggling to provide support, Lak also kept assessing the situation. But suddenly Corenloch cut in, "That's not it. Mariottet isn't the one pulling the strings behind them. It's not that easy for her. And even if she were controlling them, attacking randomly like this is not her style at all." As he spoke, Corenloch gave a proud look towards Mariottet, showing his faith in her. Hearing this, Donwarski also spoke up, "Then why are these monsters attacking us?" Corenloch replied, "It's neither." Hearing this, the others were extremely confused and asked again, "What?" At this moment, a thoughtful Corenloch explained, "Every species of monster has its own hunting habits, but sometimes they fall into desperate situations that make them forget their instincts. For example, if there's something they can't deal with." Hearing this, Jaeger, Yuel, Lak, and Donwarski were all extremely surprised by this something that makes them run away when they face it, Mariottet. Suddenly, at this moment, things became even stranger. It seemed like the next beast was about to appear. Seeing the critical situation, Corenloch warned, "Prepare for battle. Yuel, Lak, fall back." At this moment, Lak, while frantically opening his book to provide support, complained, "Gulp, I can't even catch my breath." At this moment, Yuel also said, "Is this far enough?" At this moment, Corenloch also asked for help. "Jaeger, take one step back and support me." Hearing this, Donwarski seemed to have figured it out and said, "It seems you already have a plan in mind, so I trust you, my master." At this moment, Jaeger also chimed in, "Hey, is that one step your size or my size?" Suddenly, at this moment, Corenloch, with a murderous look in his eyes and a determined expression, said, "I'll take the lead." At this moment, the system suddenly appeared. Third precept, "I will save the world. Mariottet. Dunalef." Plus, hearing this, Corenloch gradually understood what was happening and thought to himself, Mariottet's fate, her impact on this world. These backup parameters are surely based on the scale of her future impact on the world, not the events of Act 1. As he thought, Corenloch tightly gripped the blade in his hand. At this moment, the system displayed a notification again, "I will save the world. Take the first step to save the world and stop Mariottet Dunalef." This conflicts with the first precept, "Don't be indifferent to the misfortune of others." At the same time, Mariottet's figure also appeared with her demonic appearance. At this moment, the system also displayed a final message, "Save Mariottet Dunalef." Hero, Corenloch. Suddenly at this moment, Mariottet's demonic form suddenly started sobbing pitifully. Seeing this, a slightly worried Yuel said, "She's crying." Hearing and seeing this, Donwarski was more clear-headed and warned them, "It won't change anything. Just exterminate the demon clan." Suddenly, at this moment, a sword lunged towards Mariottet at extremely high speed. But suddenly, Donwarski saw something that made him wide-eyed in astonishment. At this moment, the sword was blocked by a protective shield, preventing it from attacking Mariottet Dunalef. Seeing this, they were all astonished and said in unison, "What is that? I can't believe my great sword was—" Lak seemed to have realized it too and explained, "That's a blood sphere, a creation born from a vampire's blood. I didn't think a newly awakened vampire could have a blood sphere with her." Seeing this, Corenloch turned around with an extremely determined look in his eyes and said, "No need to be afraid. It was just born. It hasn't received her blood or magic yet. When it's not supplied with blood and magic from its master, it can't do anything but block attacks." Suddenly, Donwarski said, "For a mage like me, facing an opponent with such defensive power is a big problem." Hearing this, Corenloch replied very calmly, "It'll be fine, don't worry." Suddenly, at this moment, Mariottet's demonic form let out a loud shout and roared, "Get lost!" Seeing this, Corenloch reminded everyone, "It's a wide-area magic attack." Seeing this, Corenloch called out, "Yuel." Hearing this, a very determined Yuel started using her power and didn't forget to reply, "I know." While Yuel was summoning the power of her domain, Corenloch said with a very smug look, I don't know about other places, but this is a forest. This is my domain. As soon as he finished speaking, the power of the domain that Yule had created also formed a shield protecting everyone instantly. At this moment, the system also displayed a notification: attack speed increased. Soul protected from adverse effects. At this moment, Mariottet Dunalef was blocked by the spirit shield wall created by Yule, which put Mariottet in a difficult position. As for Yule, she struggled to resist and cried out. Seeing the situation, Jaeger asked with great worry, "What if that defensive wall breaks?" Hearing this, Lack chimed in, "Spit it out. What did you eat to say something like that?" Yule was struggling intensely, gritting her teeth and frowning as she thought, "Just that one attack cost me half my mana to maintain the defense. The vampire's toxic hunting ground effect is affecting me, but I have to endure it to give everyone a chance to attack." At this moment, the shield wall seemed unable to withstand Mariottet Dunalef's power from the outside and was about to shatter. Corinlock noticed and asked, "Yule, you've reached your limit, haven't you?" Standing up to reassure everyone, Corinlock saw Yule and remembered he had promised to defeat this. In Corinlock's hand was a dagger. Though appearing calm, he chuckled and said, "Just hold on a little longer, I'll finish her in 5 moves. An almost exhausted Yule panted, "Can you really do it?" Corinlock replied confidently, reassuring his team, "Yeah, of course I can." Meanwhile, on Mariottet Dunalef's side, she was restrained by some mystical power clutching her body in pain. Corinlock quietly observed everything to find a way. The battle with Vampire Mariottet is divided into 4 stages. Stage 1, when surrounding monsters attack. Stage 2, after defeating the monsters, Mariottet fights alone. You need to face her from Stage 2 to Stage 4 to witness her strongest spells. At that point, Mariottet suddenly becomes more frenzied and monstrous. In other words, before the final stage, she still hasn't used her full power. At that point, Mariottet Dunalef seems to have become a true vampire. It's similar to the game and my past life. Thinking this, Corinlock held his blade turned around and gave instructions. "Lack, leave quickly a little before Yule. You can only use basic magic about 2 more times, so take care of yourself." Hearing this, Lack was extremely surprised by Corin's calculation and said, "You even calculated that, I understand." Corinlock praised Yule. "Good job. Once you've used up all your mana, run as far as you can." Yule replied, "All right, I'll deal with it then." Until now, although the attack range was very wide, it wasn't lucky. The truly dangerous thing. Suddenly, while Corinlock was thinking the shield wall could no longer withstand Mariottet Dunalef's power from outside and was about to shatter. At this moment, Mariottet's power seeped through cracks in the protective wall, making Corin think to himself, "It's the alchemy spell that will happen afterwards. She's coming." Corinlock waited with a determined look for Mariottet's appearance. Suddenly, the alchemy freezing spell was used by someone to break the shield wall. The shield wall seemed shattered by the alchemy freezing spell. Everyone looked up in astonishment and fear. Jaeger cried out in alarm, "The wall, it's collapsed!" At the same time, Yule struggled relentlessly, fighting back with prayers. "Mother Earth and the nutrients from plants and barley, O gods and insects, let ashes cover the world." Sounds appeared, Seal Ipin Urwat Steit, and then the light of Yule's summoned spirits appeared more clearly. A gust of wind came from nowhere, making Yule realize and think to herself, "The gods, they are responding. Although I wrote those ancient runes, only a pure-blooded druid can activate them." Corinlock thought to himself, "Although similar to ancient runes, it's a system language belonging to a different civilization." Suddenly, roots and branches sprouted from the ground at incredible speed. Corinlock realized, it's the secret language you only get after completing Yule's storyline, she who strives to become an ancient forest mage, the mage of the ancient forest nature's favorite child. The 1,000-year secret language belongs only to the spirit. Both Jaeger and Donwarski were extremely astonished by everything before them. Their eyes were wide and mouths agape. The Willow Man appeared, a giant willow mannequin with an enormous form made from the roots of the gods. With 5 eyes and a dark shape, it made everyone cry out in alarm. "What is that?" Even Yule was astonished and exclaimed, "That ancient rune summoned this thing." Hearing Yule's surprise, Corinlock chuckled to himself. "That's right. I cheated a bit to help her summon this, but in this situation there's no other way." Thinking this, Corenlock called out. Jaeger, there's one owlbear still alive. Throw it to the willow man quick. Hearing this, a very surprised Jaeger asked back. There's an owlbear still alive. Wow, you're amazing. There really is one left, Coren. Hearing his teammate's surprise, Corenlock showed a very satisfied attitude. Then he said to himself, I was prepared even though they didn't notice while they were busy fighting. Thinking this, Corenlock gave an order. Quick, throw it at the willow man's chest. Hearing this, Jaeger quickly acted and replied, All. Suddenly at this moment, the owlbear was defeated instantly, creating a huge explosion that blew it to pieces. By burning the sacrificial offering inside the willow man's chest, it powered the summoning magic for this mannequin. At this moment, the willow man stood up, and the explosion had no effect on. At the same time, everyone shouted in unison, ordering the willow man, Go, willow man! Instantly, the willow man obeyed and charged forward, attacking relentlessly. This seemed to affect Yule as well as she clutched her chest and moaned in pain. Corenlock realized this and thought to himself, It seems to be too much for her. It's really difficult for her to withstand summoning magic like this for several minutes. Thinking this, Corenlock spoke with great determination to remind and Don't stop, Yule. If you stop, everyone will die. Hearing this, Yule seemed to be in so much pain she was crying, but she still forced herself to say, I know, I'll try. At this moment, the willow man stood in front of Mariottet, causing Mariottet to let out a few disdainful cries. But it couldn't make Mariottet's will to attack disappear. Mariottet let out a loud roar and simultaneously shot out poisonous needles. Seeing the willow man being relentlessly attacked, her teammates worriedly asked Coren, Is this okay? Corenlock replied reassuringly, Don't worry. He thought to himself, The willow man isn't alive. It's just a mannequin. A few holes in its body won't kill it. Theoretically, in a fight between fire and ice, fire cannot lose. Meanwhile, Jaeger and Donwarski watched the battle with great suspense. That's what I thought. Suddenly, a poison blade shot out by Mariottet rushed towards the willow man at extremely high speed. Corenlock's eyes widened in astonishment as he thought to himself, That magic extinguished the willow man's flame. At that moment, the willow man suddenly collapsed, causing everyone to scatter in fear. Corenlock frowned and gritted his teeth, worrying to himself, Conventional wisdom is being completely overturned. This is special difficulty. Mariottet Dunalef at this moment seemed to have truly transformed into a demon with her murderous appeal. Yule was heavily affected and collapsed to the ground, clutching her chest in pain and crying out. Corenlock said, Yule, fall back. It's all right now. Yule stammered and asked back, What? Corenlock chimed in, Your mana is gone. Being here now won't change anything. Yule understood and quickly left the scene. I understand, Jaeger asked with some worry. Hey, can we do this on our own? Corenlock explained the situation. Mariottet has used all her wide area attacks. Now her magic has weakened. Do you guys know what that means? Jaeger asked, puzzled. What? It's our time to strike. Suddenly, Corenlock charged forward like a beast with a very pleased expression, which made Jaeger and Donwarski a little scared as they called out. Hey, wait a minute. Right after that, both Jaeger and Donwarski quickly followed. The three of them faced the true demon Mariottet, who relentlessly shot out poison needles. Donwarski quickly used his move Link Accelerate, then immediately counterattacked, but it failed. Annoyed, Dron cursed a few words. Damn it, this blood sphere is really tough. Suddenly, Jaeger appeared from the sky with a determined shout, I'm here, eat! This instantly, Jaeger landed an attack on Mariottet, creating a blinding flash of light. Corenlock realized and was very pleased, chuckling to himself. That's Jaeger's special attack, destructive piling. The damage stacks multiple times. He's really useful. I'm glad I called him to join the team. After finishing his attack, Jaeger was very smug, chuckling. I've broken you. Idiot, watch out. Right after praising him. Suddenly, Mariottet activated Stage 3. Her eyes glowed crimson like fresh blood. Instantly, Stage 3 appeared blood domain. A deafening explosion suddenly erupted. Corenlock's teammates' blades, swords, and maces suddenly fell freely from their hands. Corenlock tried to resist the situation. He realized coldly, we're trapped in this barrier. As soon as the blood sphere was broken, it activated a trap and now we're stuck in it.